right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Group Up Podcast. It has been several weeks since the last one, I think, and several weeks since my last stream, certainly. So I hope you guys have not missed us too dearly, and I hope you're excited for all things new season as we enter the great Juno debate, where, yes, we will be talking about Overwatch's newest hero alongside all the new shenanigans that have occurred in this season, group respawn, cosmetics, new game mode clash, and a little section as we'll talk about Deadlock, Valve's new shooter game that, is it or is it not another Overwatch killer? Has another Overwatch killer emerged on the market? All those and more. But first, let me introduce my guests who need no introduction. In the bottom right, actually having two members of the call in his frame in some ways, is Spilo. Spilo, what's up?
Doing great. I appreciate it. Actually, it's only just me. Bogur is just totally incidental, unfortunate accident.
Yeah, definitely not at all.
Just like his childhood.
What?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Bro, he always throws punches at me. What did I do to you? What did I ever do to you? Look at you crying.
Well, he's already introduced himself in some ways, but in the bottom left, traumatized, is Bogur. Bogur, what's up?
I'm chilling, vibing, done streaming, went to the gym, didn't get to eat food, ate Skier. Do you know what Skier is?
No, what's
You know what Skier is, Spilo?
No, what is it?
Skier is like this protein-dense yogurt where it's like 11 grams of protein per 100. So you
Nice,
eat
dude.
one of those that's 500 grams, and you get 55 grams of protein for like 300 calories or less.
Good. Good.
And it's the most
Good.
disgusting thing you can imagine, but I eat it.
That's how it goes. That's good.
Thank you.
That's the
Good for
Bogur way.
you.
Bogur just eats like unflavored chicken. Like he'll just
Chicken
like,
and rice and Skier. That is I'm literally cooking chicken and rice right
Why
now.
don't you season it?
I season it, but it's funny to say I don't.
Oh, okay.
So he says, I can imagine this guy just chomping on like a nearly raw chicken, to be honest. I can just see him.
I like my chicken medium rare.
medium rare. Oh, God.
With the juice.
Yummy,
Oh
yummy.
my god. Okay, before this goes any further and discuss any further listeners alongside myself, in the top left is Emiliath. Emiliath, how you doing?
I'm good. That's all.
That's all, that's all.
I don't have
The-
anything
the-
fun. I ate a granola bar for breakfast.
Did it have flavor at least?
It did. It was blueberry and banana or something. Or chocolate and banana. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, this is we invited a panel today that have all had significant events recently. We have Emiliath, who just got married. Congratulations, Emiliath.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Bogur,
Congrats.
Bogur, whose birthday it just was. Is yesterday, Bogur?
Yeah.
So
And what is Spilo's great event?
he just had a shower yesterday for the first time. So
Oh.
that's
Actually, my birthday is tomorrow.
Really?
Oh, really? You're not trolling?
Yeah, my birthday's tomorrow. No joke. No joke. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
happy birthday.
Well, there you go, guys. There
Thanks,
you
I
go.
appreciate it. So I just
Yeah.
have to +1 Bogur and everything.
What sign is that? What month is it? We're in August. I don't know what
Yes,
sign it
it's
is.
August
Amelia.
31st.
Are we gonna do some astrology? What does it mean, Emiliath?
Yeah.
What does
Do
it
you know
all
what
mean?
sign you are?
Ooh,
I don't know, but if it's Virgo, I'm gonna be depressed.
it's Virgo. We're both Virgo, bro.
Frick,
Oh.
man.
We're both
What,
I don't know
what,
anything
what are
about Virgo.
what are Virgos? Are they just dicks?
Yeah.
No, it's
I don't
yeah.
know.
I don't know, but it has
They-
something to do with
okay.
Virgin. I'm just giving Bogur ammo, so I have to be careful.
Well, he's
I'm loading up
also
over
Virgo
here.
though. He's also
Yeah,
Virgo.
he's
I'm
I
also
see.
Virgo.
Virgo.
But
We're
he'll,
both Virgo.
but he'll take one for himself. As long as I go down with him, he doesn't care.
You're
That's
damn
true.
right.
Collateral damage. Collateral damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Did you
well,
see this?
what is it?
Oh,
Oh,
that's so
Audio
cool.
listeners, Bogur showing us
Hey.
a picture of the Life Fever art that comes in his initial his release, right? Like the short that came
Yeah.
out when he released.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's a cool little life tree.
That was my phone background for a
That's-
while.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's sick.
Awesome. Okay, well, speaking of Life Weaver, we've also got other support heroes on the horizon now. So this, of course, like I said, is the great Juno debate. So we'll get into talking about Juno in a minute. Before we do, as I always do, let's touch base on how you guys are feeling about little old Overwatch in general. So first question, guys, is, how are you feeling? How are you feeling in Season 12? Are you happy, unhappy, underwhelmed, overwhelmed, whelmed? I'll start with Emiliath first because she's making some faces that suggest that she's got some thoughts.
I think it feels really bad for support. I don't know. Diva's just so oppressive. It makes the game really unfun. I like Juno though. Juno's fun. But yeah, I'm not having a ton of fun right now.
What is it that's I'm genuinely asking. Usually I would ask as the host, but in this case I'm genuinely asking as someone who hasn't played Overwatch in like 3 weeks. What is the problem? What's going on?
Uh, I mean, it's got to be a number of things. I think it's something to do with tanks. Probably biggest tank is Diva, obviously. Um, yeah, probably dive meta because I'm an Ana player, so like it makes it hard to survive if I don't have a brig, which in my rank I rarely have a brig. Um, Also probably the rank reset didn't help.
So like wilder games in that sense, you mean?
Yeah, people just in all over the place.
So, and I feel like this is a feeling that I've seen support players express for a little bit of time, that things have not felt super easy and fun. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you just can't like carry as much as you used to be able to, which I mean, I don't think it should go back to the way support was in the beginning because support was really busted in the beginning. But I feel like it's a lot harder to turn games in your favor on support now.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll see if the rest of the guests agree with that assessment. I'll go to Spilo first. Spilo, A, what Emiliath said. B, how are you feeling?
I don't believe a word she says. You know what she does? She goes to Sombra and hurts other people when support
I
doesn't go
do.
well. Does that sound like somebody that you want to trust at all? I'm not trustworthy at all. I think my experience has been like super like tunnel vision pretty much. It's just been Juno, basically nothing but Juno. So everything's gonna kind of be going through that Juno lens. But it's been okay. I think, I agree with Emiliath that Diva's definitely still a bit overtuned. It's like one of those characters. It's like this doesn't really fit in Overwatch 2. It's either useless or like overtuned. Kind of a weird balance. I think the 225 HP change has definitely hit some heroes harder than others, so I think your mileage may vary. I think I'm going to say any meta where Sombra has a high pick rate is always going to make support feel kind of scary because you can just be deleted. And I think especially how they front loaded some of the damage into Revirus feels pretty tough right now. There's definitely some bad things. Juno is maybe not the most oppressive support of all time, but I had a lot of fun playing her. There was a lot of risk. There was a lot of reward. There were some bad moments, but there's a lot of good moments. I think from my limited experience, my little tunnel of enjoyment, it was all right. It's been okay.
It's all right. It's been okay. That is the
I've had
next
fun.
season trailer. Let's go into the next season trailer.
I've had fun.
Just okay.
I do agree that the rank reset definitely introduces some volatility. I remember when they first announced the rank reset, I was like, guys, this is just going to be bad. Everyone's just going to be total chaos, and all the games that are being thrown by the people that aren't at the right rank, they're going to lose games anyway. You're just going to introduce volatility everywhere. I know Gavin has answered this question. Gavin Winter, the systems designer, not the lead, but one of the senior ones, and I forget why they do it. I know it's like, well, to fix the rank, but it always introduces just a bunch of chaos, and I'm always like questioning what's the purpose. I don't know if I've always felt like it's like it's a visual thing. It's like a psychological thing. Oh, guys, we get to replace. Let's go back in and log. And I've always felt like that was more that than anything else, but it does introduce a lot of chaos. Like I screwed up my placements because I was playing Juno in a weaker state, and I ended up having to like grind my way up through like lower diamond, like with a win streak modifier even, just because I lost 2 games with a weaker Juno in placements. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know how many games I was smurfing at Diamond 5, because I played a couple of bad games, but that's just kind of how it goes.
Hello guys, SEB here, and the Group Up podcast is back, and I'd like to take just 30 seconds of your time to talk to you about 2 quick things. Firstly, Patreon. If you enjoy the content, then please do consider supporting directly, because Patreon takes only about 10% of the money you give, where YouTube and Twitch take 40 and 50% respectively. So if you'd like to support the podcast, then that is the best way to do so. Secondly, if you're someone who enjoys video essays or detailed analysis of movies, TV, or anime, then please do check out my second channel, The Soak, where I'll be making videos about those kind of topics much more frequently, and where a lot of my attention will go beyond just Overwatch. It would mean the absolute world to me if you guys would check it out, but that's it for now. Let's head back to the discussion. We'll talk about the rank reset in detail, and maybe Gavin will pop up, because Gavin is known to pop up in the podcast chat, so you might be able to there's a thread actually posted on Twitter that we'll unpack as well at some point about the impact that we've had with some of the changes. But before we do that, I'm gonna head it over to Bogur. Bogur, you've also been grinding Juno. So A, how have you found the season overall? B, maybe vibe off of anything that Emiliath or Spilo said about support feeling weak and maybe the rank reset feeling like it's caused some chaos.
So I played only Juno this season, basically. I haven't played anything else. D.Va is super annoying. Sombra eats me instantly. I just die instantly because I can't really self-heal either. So if my support isn't looking at me and I don't pay attention, I get virused, I just die. So those two things are really annoying. But I don't know, new season, it's fine. At least there's a new hero to play. I think, at the beginning I said she's pretty weak. But I do not, I do not believe people should listen to my tweets most of the time.
I agree with
So
that.
I do believe, yeah, I just kind of spout nonsense half the time, whatever comes up to me, and I just tweet it out. So I think she actually is quite good. I don't think she's too strong. I don't think she's too weak. I've had decent amount of success. I think I'm at like 70% win rate right now at Masters 2. And she's fun. I like her quite a lot. I think she provides good value while not insta-killing everything. And when you die to a good Juno, it doesn't feel like it's unfair. So I think that's really good. And still, though, I agree with Emmy. Like, D.Va is super annoying to play against, especially on Juno. And Sombra is super annoying. So I agree with Spilo there for once. So.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting to hear because last I played Overwatch, like I said, around 3 weeks ago, I remember coming with the impression I was like, man, D.Va's like the one oppressive standout character that I felt at the time. I was like, this character really sticks out. So to hear you guys say that, essentially that's still the case, and I saw the patch notes that it was basically a half a second nerf on the defense matrix. We'll get to talking about the patch notes later, but it seems like basically that wasn't enough, and other circumstantial changes around that haven't alleviated the problem. So that's interesting to feedback off. We'll talk about all of that in a moment. But first, let's head over and talk in more length about Juno, since that is, the big news right now. I think that's what everyone will be excited to hear about. And before we get into the balance of Juno, I wanted to ask you guys' opinion on the release of Juno and the kind of character of Juno and how she's been introduced to us. So, yeah, how do you feel? We've had like a short, an animated short, which is, not always a given these days. We don't always get one for heroes, but we saw that little short where she's flying from Mars to Earth and she has that little malfunction, and we got a comic too, which I haven't read actually, but we got that. We got a teaser in Dorado when her spaceship lands, and now we have Juno. So how do we feel about the release of Juno? I'll take it to Spilo first.
That was great. It's great hype. I'm not as interested in the lore side of things as much as I was when I initially started. Maybe it's through the lack of the animated shorts that got people interested, but it definitely felt like they were more interested in the hype leading up to the actual release itself. So there was I felt like there was a lot more excitement about the character coming up and like what they're going to be like and what are we going to do with the character. And felt like there was like a natural flow of things starting from, okay, this character is being announced to here comes a tease of this character and then the actual release. And I think Juno is really fun, and I think new support characters always are in high demand. But I think there's a lot of people playing Juno right now, man. Like there's a lot of people that are invested in that character, and I think that is a reflection of not only her design but also the hype leading up to it. So I thought that was done pretty well.
Bogur, I saw some people complaining that hey, Juno already got a animated short. Venture Nation is in shambles and upset that Venture, not only did they not get a short, but the cosmetics have been a bit sparse. Do you feel like there's been some preferential treatment there?
Yeah, Venture Nation has been suffering. Be real, no skins, no nothing. And it's kind of funny because Valeria was so outgoing and was ready to interact, and everyone got really hyped, and then Blizzard did nothing with it. So now the momentum died out. So it's a shame, I'll be honest. I think Blizzard should, be quicker to, I don't know, capitalize on things like that. We haven't seen a voice actress or actor, she goes by any pronoun, go and be so engaged with the community, and people just loved it. I actually met a Venture cosplayer at Gamescom, so that was really fun. And I know it's a good thing. So kind of shafted the Venture community, and I think Juno will get a lot of love probably, both from the community and Blizzard. And if she might even become the new Kiriko, who knows? She's cute and she's a support, and everybody loves cute support characters. So Venture Nation stays losing.
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad. To put it like Donald Trump, yeah, sad. Emmy, I saved you for last. You are someone, Spilo said, I'm not really into lore, but you are someone who's into the lore. So how have you found that side of things? Like, we did get a decent chunk of lore to come alongside Juno, and how do you feel about just generally the way the character was released?
I think she had a great release. I agree with Bogur. I think that Venture got completely shafted. Like, if you just look at them together, it's like, holy shit, they don't care about this character, which I know is not true, but that's what it looks like. But yeah, I think it was really good. It kind of seems like they're going back toward how they did lore in Overwatch 1, which was like basically with hero releases. That's what you got, was whatever came with the hero release. And then like maybe a comic on the side. Which is fine. But I do wish that they would come out and like just say that they're done with like whatever lore wise, like the PvE stuff, because I don't think they've ever officially said that they're never doing PvE again, which is what it seems like. But yeah, I don't know. I just wish they would come out and clarify what they're doing with all of that. And also, of course, all the layoffs were primarily for writers and artists.
Well, the entire
Was it
PvE
artists
team
for like the
the entire
sorry, go
PvE level. No, I was just gonna say the entire level design and all that have been laid off. So I don't think they've ever had like an emphatic, definitive statement like this is never happening. But I think they've essentially said that in like less words.
That's what I took
words.
it as at BlizzCon. Whenever they were like, we're moving more towards PvP. That's what I took it as, was they're not doing PvE anymore.
I
But a
think
lot
they
of
don't
people,
like to do absolutes, They want to say
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
well, that
a
was
lot of people are like still
Yeah,
hoping,
exactly.
and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna be doing it anymore. But
Overwatch PvE sucks, man.
Bro, it's so bad.
It's largely based off of the execution, but I never want anyone to lose their jobs, and I think that those guys did really good work with what they were given, right?
yes,
But I remember when there's a lot of doomer stuff about like, oh, we're not gonna have this event anymore, and I'm like, bro, like nobody, like
I think nobody cares. I agree.
I'm specifically talking about the missions. Those PvE, I think people, I don't think they care as much about.
Yeah, I think like we have to like be very careful about what we say with PvE, right? Like, the initial promised PvE promised land, everyone will be disappointed about that, because that would have been cool to explore. Let's not lie. Whether that was a good decision from a business standpoint or not, and how much Bobby gunked that up along the way. I almost had a background with like the Overwatch killer, and it was going to be Jeff Kaplan and Bobby Kotick. That was going to be my background. But anyway, Bogur's face was too attractive.
Look, guys, it's actually my face in the background, and it says, what does it say?
Fool.
Fool.
It says fool. Is it backwards for you guys, or is it just me?
No, it's just a little bit cut off on the
It's cut off on my side. It's cut off on my
side. Okay. But yeah, I think like in terms of the missions or like the actual whole PvE development, I think everyone is pretty much on the same page. Like that would have been really cool to explore. Whether it would have been good long term or not, I don't know. But the PvE we've had with Overwatch since Junkenstein's Revenge, I know everyone's like, nostalgia, it's fun. Bro, it's cheeks. Lucio Ball sucks.
Okay,
if you like Lucio Ball, you are stupid. I'm allowed to go unhinged. Go ahead.
The one with the Gussie in the middle, that one was really
with the
good.
Gussie?
Yeah,
no, it was only good
if
you could. It was only good if you could betray somebody.
Yeah,
I never got to betray anybody, and so I was just like, I gotta shoot the bot. The Moira thing on Antarctica.
I didn't play that shit.
Yeah, see, there you go.
You should have played
Jackass. This guy's commenting doesn't even play anything.
Why? Like I just queue up comp. Why would I play that?
Yeah, that's typical. See, you're not a connoisseur like Emiliath and myself. So
my bad, guys, my bad.
I will say like with all the critiques, I will say that it's had its moments, like the spooky thing they did with Eichenwalde with like the Echo skin or whatever. That was like, oh, that's scary. But come on, I played it once. And then the Third Point Blizzworld, where they had like the power-ups and the mega bosses.
Yes,
that was like
really fun.
That one was like, oh, the weapons do something different. Gee, that's like new. But again, I played it I think 2 or 3 times, and
I'll be honest.
That one was kind of replayable. I feel like because you could do different.
I'll be honest. Exactly. You guys keep talking about this, and I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
He's sitting lower and lower and lower in his chair. His
I
posture
keep
is getting worse and
disappearing.
It's
worse.
gonna
I
disappear.
keep disappearing.
Yeah.
I will-
So,
so
like,
I
I
will-
mean,
go ahead,
it is
Spilo.
what it
Finish
is.
your thought.
No, I just said it is what it is. Like, I think like I think like it's really hard for me to say that objectively Overwatch PvE is a flawed concept because it's just not been executed particularly well. But I think I remember the Doomers stuff around that, and I was just like, guys, come on. It's just, I swear, there's no way they're making money off of that stuff. Like, not that everything has to be about money, but like, it wasn't even a good product either. So it's like, who cares? Like, lean into what you have. The cosmetics are great. The animations are great. The animated shorts are great. The PvP design is like, at least controversially great, right? So, stay in your lane,
Oh, also hide and seek was really good. Sorry,
Hide and
Oh,
seek was good.
Actually true.
A
Actually,
lot of them
Actually
were
true.
pretty
Actually true.
okay.
actually the best game mode, and but see,
Yeah.
that's my point. Like, right, wasn't great because of art. It was just fun. It was just clever, and it was a good idea. The best game mode that they've had was the one that had the least amount of artistical effort. You just turn into a chair. I mean, come on, it was a blast. I played that one easily like 20-30 times.
Because there's replayability. You can keep playing it over and over again, and you can play
Yes.
it with friends, and there's fun to it. If you play the
Yes.
PvE events, you play them once. What is the point of me doing it again?
Well, we don't need
I
to.
think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think we kind of know. We've kind of had this discussion several times in that yes, we know the PvE didn't pan out. I think Emiliath is trying to speak for the lore enthusiasts who kind of want more in-game stuff like that, like more in-game unfolding of story, which I think, unfortunately, there's so much potential for it, but we've never seen a realized version of it. It's probably the best way to summarize it. We've never really seen a well-executed version of what maybe was talked about, and again, we're not going to go over the retread the ground of the what Overwatch 2 could or should have been.
My bad.
Yeah, no. Valid tangent. I think going back to Emmy's point about just like PvE and like, I think you were saying, Emmy, that like it feels a bit sad that we're not going to get more than what we got like with the release of. Is that a fair? Do you want to elaborate on that before I give my thoughts?
No, yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying. It just feels like, I mean, it's okay. I think that it's going back to how Overwatch 1 was, but I think there's not a clear direction. And that's disappointing to the community because they want obviously more lore after getting the PvE.
Yes, and I think to give my thoughts, I think one feeling that I got, because I thought it was very visually beautiful, the animated short that we got, it looked really great, and I'm sure like many observers, I was like, man, they really got a potential to do something here with it, but I don't see them doing it. It did have like a bit of a depressing element where I was like, this isn't really gonna go anywhere, is it? Because I think when we got shorts in Overwatch 1, there was this sense that it was building towards something. Like when you got a bit of like, okay, we've learned that Reinhardt got recalled, or like, oh, this is how they're recruiting Mei into Overwatch, or whatever short you want to go to, or whether it's the classic dragons that we bring up so often in this podcast. It's like, okay, well, something's gonna happen between Genji and Hanzo, right? Like at some point they're gonna have some sort of other showdown. We're gonna learn, like he's gonna learn about this or that, or they're gonna patch up. I think the difference and emphasis now is that we kind of, or at least I came away like, oh, that's about it. Like that's it. That's gonna end there. There's not really a story unfolding, which maybe was like part of the promise of early Overwatch, right? Early Overwatch kind of had this promise that we were gonna learn more about the characters as we go. And even the way heroes were released, right? It's like, okay, we got Ana, and it's like, oh, Ana's Farah's mother, and she was part of Overwatch 2, and like, what's happening? Now we just get like Iliari and Juno, which is great. They're great heroes, but they're just like random tangential people kind of thrown in who may or may not be affiliated with Overwatch. We don't really know, and it doesn't really matter because it's not in any meaningful way going to make a difference to anything related to the game, like whether Juno joins Overwatch and what. Like, it's not like we're going to see some major events, or at least it doesn't feel like we're going to see some major events take place in the Overwatch lore universe that will be relevant for all this. We're not assembling the Avengers so that eventually they'll fight some big bad guy. We're just kind of adding heroes to the roster because we add heroes to the roster. So I do think that was the sense that I got coming away from the release of Juno, where I was like, this is really nice. I'm glad they're doing shorts again. But, it just feels like this is, we're just throwing heroes out at this point, which, fair enough.
So it's like a PvP game with like a PvE story setting but there is like a progression, like there's development. We're going towards an end goal. And now it's like, okay, what is this? what's in story? Like if you were to have like the Marvel Cinematic Universe of Overwatch, what's happening in the story in the next 2 years? Like where are we going with that? And then how is that reflecting in the map release, the hero release, and whatever else?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think just to not to overharp on this point, but then again, I'm sure the lore people are starved for any discussions on lore stuff, so we'll go into it for a little bit. But I remember in Overwatch 1 when they were releasing stuff, it was like, again, like I said, a lot of the shorts were building towards the reunification of Overwatch, right? It was like so and so characters are being recalled. And then with map stuff, we'd have like Doomfist and the Numbani airport being trashed. And it's like, oh shit, like Doomfist is broken out of prison. We got that information. And then we see that he's like kind of tearing up Numbani. So we're kind of getting this foreboding sense that everything is coming to a head, right? Like it's going to clash somewhere and we're going to find out what it all means for the Overwatch heroes. Whereas this one, it's like, we know vaguely Juno has some mission of like, oh, I want to find some cure for her mother or something. But what is that like? What does that mean? Like, it's not going to matter in any meaningful way. Emmy, do you have any thoughts on all that?
No, I pretty much agree. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say than what I already said about it, but it is disappointing. I also, this is totally kind of random, but I was thinking about it earlier when you were talking about the comics. They started doing voice actors reading the comics, and I think that is a really good way to get people into lore, and they should keep doing that because it is really good. And if you guys haven't watched it, you should watch it. Venture did one, and Space Ranger. Sorry. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about the lore. I think you guys all kind of harped on it.
Yeah. Bogur, any thoughts from your end of any of what we discussed there?
It's just a shame how little they do with these amazing characters and everything. It's just like everybody loves the characters. Everybody wants more of the characters. They just drop them and then they do nothing with them. I don't know. I don't know why they do it. I mean, I kind of know why they do it, but especially looking at the success of Arcane and everything else that's been released for like gaming media or like Cyberpunk, just like building on the universe or the characters just provides so much value for both your game and your community. But we have Venture, we have Juno, we have Kiriko. People love these characters so much, and they're gonna do nothing with them, and it's just a shame. It just like breaks my heart most of the time. Even just like anything, animated shorts, everybody keeps yapping about animes or like anything like that. That would be really cool. Or more comics, or I think people don't really care that much about the comics, but in general, just something more. Just give us more lore, you know. Even with the age when they showed off how old every character is, I honestly I felt like that was so lazy because they didn't even like double check anything. Like the Kiriko Hanzo Genji age gap is like insane. It makes no sense. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like they're spitting in the face of all the hardcore fans that just really like the universe and the characters. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to dwell on it too much, lest we be accused of just like going on about it, beating a dead horse, as it were. But yeah, I agree, and I will just add that I think what's crazy about Overwatch is the pervasiveness of the characters. Like they still remain really strong in the public consciousness. I mean, we joke about it, and Bogur tweeted the other day like an image of from I was a 4chan where it was like someone saying that like, oh, I was playing Overwatch, and then my brother came into the room, saw me playing Mercy, and was like, that's where she's from. She's from a game.
I mean, they're just so memorable as characters. You know, the people that make these characters are just so talented. Like, it's just so memorable, and the voice acting and the way they move and talk and everything is just so memorable. And people, like, they haven't played the game in so long, but they have such a strong memory of every single character in Overwatch.
For sure. So I'll just leave it at that, unless anyone else has any thoughts. That I think we all just, you know, it's not really that we expect this to go anywhere. I think it's just a sharing of frustration of like, oh man, it would have been nice that they would have done a bit more with this. But I get that it's not probably something that's realistically on their timeline. So any other thoughts from you guys before we move on to actually talking about the hero of Juno herself? Okay, well, let's talk about that. We've got two people who've been hard grinding Juno. I don't know, Emmy, if you've been hard grinding Juno or not, but we certainly have Bogur doing his, at this point, trademark unranked GMs on you know, the new hero and anything that Mike calls him Misery, which I think you thought was going to happen with Juno. And then Spilo is what
I definitely hoped.
Like, I wish this would make
I wish Juno was terrible.
content. And then Spilo, you yourself have been grinding as well. So I will take it to Bogur first. Bogur, how do you find the actual gameplay of Juno? Like how do you find her as a hero and her power level, as you've alluded to?
I think she's cool, balanced, really balanced actually. There isn't a moment where I feel like Juno. I feel like when people play against Juno, I mentioned before, it doesn't feel like she's oppressive or broken. When you play Kiriko or play against a Kiriko, it feels really bad when you just randomly die to 2 headshots across the map, or whatever. And with Juno, she actually needs to play really well, land her left click, her rockets, her movement needs to be good. So it was really good to play her. It was good to play against her. And I feel like there's a lot of skill expression. And I think it's also really fun to watch. Because even like while I'm playing it, I'm thinking about like how does it look like for the average viewer? And I think it looks fun because she's just moving everywhere and just poking stuff and throwing out the rockets, and there's a lot of satisfying things. I still wish she could headshot, maybe with a smaller multiplier, because I know it would be even more fun just hearing the ding 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 ding. That would be cool. But it's a good character. I like her. I like her voice acting. I like her goofiness. I like her design. I like how she plays. And I was wrong when I said she was weak, but they did buff her. I don't think the buffs were small.
Buff
That's
is
pretty good.
significant.
The buffs were significant. When I played her, before I left and before they buffed her, it genuinely felt like she didn't do anything. But now, there's a lot of moments where I actually get like 4 kills or 3 kills and like turnaround fights. So it's really good. I actually really like Juno.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry,
I
one
still
sec.
think she's.
I'm just gonna
go
repeat that
ahead.
because I realized I was muted on my stream. So I was just gonna say, Spilo, you feel as well that these buffs are really helpful for Juno, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think that she's still not like a strong support by any means, especially given like the level of skill it takes to execute her. But she's a lot of fun. I agree with everything that Bogur said. I think I'll add as well that I think a lot of. I immediately regret as soon as I said that. I'll add that I think a lot of some of the discourse that's surrounding her in terms of where she's bad, it's really awkward because people will be like, "Yeah, Juno's not that strong," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they'll be like, and they'll say a bunch of other things that I don't agree with. So I'm channeling my own. I'm gonna control my little narrative here. There's some awkward pain points with her. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think a lot of the reason why people don't think she's good is because people are bad at her, and she's really hard. I've played Sombra Rework, Venture, Reworked Roadhog, Reworked Malga, Lifeweaver, Reworked Bastion, Reworked Orisa. I've played, there's a bunch of other characters. Ramatra. I played every character, Kiriko Sojourn. I played all the characters since Overwatch 2 was released, like to understand the micro better, to be able to coach them better. She's the hardest character I've played in terms of like understanding like the strategy of how they're played. Like, how do you play this character? What makes them tick? What makes them unique? Like, what's the theory behind it? That's my job to figure that out. And it's the most challenging with her out of all the characters, even harder than Rework Sombra. And I think that's where a lot of people are struggling. I see even a lot of there's been a lot of the pro discourse. I don't know if you've been, probably not SVB, but there's been a lot of the pro discourse about like, she's no good because, it's just worse Lucio speed and no poke. And she's just different. She's just totally different. She's like this weird hybrid. She's like the perfect example of an Overwatch 2 support as opposed to an Overwatch 1. And I think she's great.
And you view all those things as like a good thing, right? This is like
Yeah.
You'd rather heroes be released this way.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's like everything that I love. It's like mobility creep, but it's not free get out of jail free mobility. It's like dynamics of range. She's not super good up close, but she's also not super good far away. There's like so many decisions that you have to make with your positioning, with your CDs. You can offensively, you can defensively. Like, there's just so much dynamics and skill expression, and there's so much skill expression in like the little things too that aren't immediately obvious. That if you try and replicate, you're like, why can't I make this work? It's because it's just it's nice. It's really good.
Nice. Emmy, how about you? Do you concur, disagree with any of what's been said?
I agree. I think she's probably the most balanced support, and I have been playing her a decent amount, especially in the beginning of the season. I was like no-lifing her for a little bit. And yeah, she's felt really balanced after playing her a little bit more. And I kind of agree with Spilo. Like at first I was like, oh my god, she's really weak. Like, I feel like I could just get more value on other characters, which sometimes I still kind of feel that way just because other support characters have like abilities that are better. But I think most of her buffs should probably come from other characters getting nerfed, like Sombra and Diva. But yeah, I think she's really balanced.
That's true. Her matchups right now are like really bad. Like I see Widow, I see Sombra, I see Diva, and I'm just like,
she just gets eaten.
It's
Yeah,
so
they're-
bad to play her against like Widowmakers or like Hitscan, like especially Widows, because half of your kit is unusable because you're just so predictable when you double jump or you like float. It's just so bad.
So do you feel like that's again something you guys are okay with, or do you feel like it's something that needs addressing?
I've got a couple of tweets.
So
But
I
no,
think the things that need to be addressed are the characters that are too strong. I'm a Sombra main, and I think Sombra did not need that buff. And obviously, I hate Diva right now. So
Interesting. Spilo, you said you had some tweaks.
Yeah, I think there's like a couple of things right now. Like I think right now, like part of what Bogur said with like her strafing right now, her flight, her strafing mid-flight is really bad, very predictable. Like you can basically aim center line, and it's like you're just gonna hit your shots, like not even trying. So I think like I actually have more problems versus like good hit scan than I do versus good flankers, because good flankers are like very like not Sombra, but like Tracer, Genji, Winston, Wrecking Ball. If you're really smart and really paying attention, you can track their angle and like pre-rotate away. Like you can't get away when they dive you, but you could pre-rotate and constantly pre-rotate. Like and it actually works pretty well. It's hard, but it's pretty good. You can't do that versus hit scan very well. That just you're gone. And I think that's a bit of an issue with maybe. I think obviously the obvious answer is like, oh, 225 HP, too squishy. But I think that's also like her strafe movement is not like near as hard as other characters that have that level of mobility, which means that she is a little bit easier to hit. Maybe that's a hitbox problem, maybe it's a strafe problem. I don't really know. I think there's also some tweaks that they could do to like torpedoes. I know one of the things that I initially suggested, which I think they've tried before, but I would like to see them revisit, is the torpedoes while firing. It feels really bad to sit there and lock torpedoes. I would like at least to see them be able to do that. And if they need to nerf torpedoes damage because it's too much to be able to shoot it, that's fine.
that is one thing I wanted to talk about was the torpedoes charge, like being able to like shoot during it or just like it being faster, because that feels terrible.
Because it's strictly an AoE option right now. That's the one limitation, is it's not very good single target damage or healing. So then if you don't have the angle for AoE value, there's not like, you don't get to choose whether it's for AoE or single target. It's basically AoE, otherwise it's a waste of cooldown. And I think that you should be able to choose. And I think that's the limitation there. And I still think they need to increase the distance and speed ring. They increased it a little bit. I asked for that. I was really grateful for that. But sometimes the angles that I need to play with this character means that I can't get as much value out of speed ring as I'd like. And that's what makes her unique, is being able to not be there and still speed there. That's what makes her separate from Lucio. But it still feels like the range is just like make it like disruptor shot. I don't know if the range is exactly, but it feels like it just needs another 5
It's really
years.
awkward. It's
really
a really
is.
awkward range.
Bogur, how do you feel about all of this? What's being said here? Do you agree with some of these complaints?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the rockets. It's really so you just want to do it for damage most of the time. I feel like if I use it for healing, I just let people die because it's so slow. And if I want to use it for damage, especially in higher elo lobbies, if I play against Hitscan and I try to peek or a Diva, I will die instantly before I deal any damage. Because again, it's just so predictable, especially flying up and like strafing and whatever else. So either allow her to shoot while locking in, because then people wouldn't die while waiting to charge up the heal from the rockets, or just make it lock in faster, as we said before. The speed ring, I'll be honest, it's I feel like I agree it's a little bit too short on the distance. One thing you guys didn't mention is that I wish that I could decide where I want to place her ult instead of just directly below me, because it would allow for a lot cooler plays. For example, my Genji is diving in with Blade, but if I use it on me, it's not going to give him value. But it would be really cool if I could place it across me, further up where he's blading so he can get healed and damage boosted, or if I'm being pushed, I can use it behind me. You know, I can like turn it around. Something just allows more creativity without actually making the character busted. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, the ult doesn't work. It's weird because you're like, it's moving, but I don't want to get any closer. So like, I
Yeah.
just like let it sail into the distance. You know, it feels like I think they could tweak the speed all they'd like, but I just don't know if it'll work. I don't know what the solution is. I like your idea though.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I could see it being like a point and then choose the direction as well, because you don't necessarily
Yeah.
want it to be like, let's say it's just a target little circle and then it just goes straight. Well, maybe I want it to actually go right because like I'm holding an angle around
Yeah.
the corner. So it could be interesting to just have it like click and then drag to like the direction you want it to face, right? So like go like this and then it comes and it goes like that. Because then you
One
can
of my
throw it at
chatters
people.
is saying, "Oh, sorry."
No, go ahead.
One of my chatters is saying, "What if you could attach it to somebody? Like either self-attach it or attach the ult to somebody else. Like attach it to your tank. Would that just be too
That
broken?
would be cool if it could follow somebody.
Like
If
a
they die, does
binding
it just
beam.
stand there then?
Yeah, just freezes when they die.
It could work, but I like my idea more.
But then
Yeah.
what happens if they? Sorry, I do want to pull back from the idea of like anytime an idea comes, people just want to shit on it. But like, what happens if you attach it to your Winston, then he jumps? Does it just fly
Yeah,
with him?
the thing is
No.
like if you attach it to somebody, first you can attach kind of like nano boost, I guess. But even if you attach to somebody, you kind of hope that this person isn't stupid. And then
Right.
second of all,
True.
what if this person is like a really fast moving character? Does the beam just teleport
True.
everywhere?
That's
What
true.
if they
yeah.
fall off the map?
What
Then
if they
what?
fall off
This
the
is a
map? The
very
beam is
valid
just useless.
concern. Very
That's
valid
true.
concern.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's something to think about. I think personally, I like the suggestion that Bogur gave of like being able to just point it somewhere and then the direction. But yeah, it would be cool that it would if they looked at it in some way. Do you guys have any other thoughts about the gameplay aspects and the kit aspects of Juno before maybe we talk about actually the balance state overall? Anything you haven't mentioned? Give it a second.
I guess I would like to just like echo about like why she's such a success. You know, like it's
Mhm.
because the skill play and because she's challenging. I don't like this like narrative that like high school characters are like gate kept. You know, like oh every time we release a high school character that like you know we're crapping on lower ranks. It's like look at all the popularity of Genjis and Tracers and look at the popularity of Reinhardt, who has a pretty low skill floor but has like a really good skill ceiling. And Juno's like super popular right now. Like a lot of people, from what I could tell, even in lower ranks, are playing Juno just because she's cool and because she's fun. You know, and yes, she's hard to play, but like, you know, her kit's not overly complicated to understand. It's just difficult to execute. And I think like that's like to me that's like I told you so. Like we need more characters like that. We need fewer Malgas and we need more characters that have those dynamics and that choice and that skill play that feels so much fun. You know, like that's what makes Overwatch great. So big shout out to the design team. More stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I like the character a lot. I as I mentioned before, I really like the fact that it doesn't feel oppressive to play against Juno because it feels fun to play and to play against, and I think
Even the
that's really good.
torpedoes.
Even the
You can dodge.
torpedoes,
Very easy to
even
dodge.
it is very easy to dodge. You go behind the wall. There's a lot of situations where I lock in and doesn't hit because the enemy just walks behind the wall or shields or does something else. So I actually really like the character.
Okay, nice. Well, hopefully you guys will feel that way in like a month or two, and nothing obnoxious will have cropped up.
They might just giga buff her and then she becomes another annoying support character to play against and just flies around and insta kills everything. But it's up to the dev team.
Well, speaking of, let's have a look at some of the patch notes then. We maybe won't explicitly talk about every single thing, but I think it's worth just going over what changes have occurred in this season and kind of what you guys feel like what impact they are or are not having on the game. We can start with D.Va because it's already been mentioned, and as it is, it's the top of the patch notes, which is that D.Va, the maximum defense matrix time reduced from 3.5 to 3, and the developer comments say that the increase in defense matrix didn't help D.Va's overall performance that much compared to the amount of frustration it's causing players on the opposing team, so reverting it to its previous duration. Firstly, I'll go to Emmy first because probably the hate is strongest in her eyes.
It's literally like boiling in me.
I know, I can feel it. I can feel it from over here. So, do you agree with that the developer comment, and then how do you feel about the change itself?
I think that she needed a nerf. So before this patch, she had a buff to her defense matrix to 3.5 seconds. So this is a revert of that buff. And I think there was another buff in there too, maybe on
Missiles.
Rocket. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rocket on her missiles. So she's been buffed before the defense matrix, so I think she needed a nerf before that, and then they decided to buff it again, and I was like, what is going on? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. She felt terrible to play against before. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why her performance is so low, but she's really unfun to play against.
I think we find this a lot. Again, I will fully acknowledge that I have not played Overwatch in a while, so my opinions are only based off of what I've seen other people say and what I've known historically about Overwatch. But I think we see this a lot with the dominant meta heroes, that often the developers come out and they're like, oh, well, the stats don't say that much. Like, this, you guys complain about Orisa, it's like a 51% win rate. Why are you complaining? And then the community's like, well, it's every fucking game, bro. Like, okay, maybe it's 51% in these situations when it's not mirrored or whatever, but like, this character's every fucking game and it's fucking annoying. So
yeah, I don't know how that like gets so like how that is so varied. I mean, the obvious answer to me is that like, well, of course, if this character is being played all the time, then they're gonna have a relatively whatever win rate. But like, obviously, they know more than me, so I'm sure they've thought of that. But yeah, I don't know why it's always so varied from what they see and what we see.
Philo, any
Emotion.
go ahead.
You know, I think it's like really memorable in the games you get shut down by D.Va, and that's where like statistical analysis and human impressions is like really dangerous. But the problem is that there's two things that fall here. Number one is like we get really upset at something, right? Like something sucks. D.Va sucks. D.Va's in every game, and we like, if it's not logical. Like we go over the top, or D.Va ruins every game when it's only like 25% of games, and so our opinions are not accurate. Or D.Va's wildly oppressive, the most powerful hero in the game, and that's not necessarily the case either. But then the problem is really compounded by just really crappy balancing. And I don't think that's always the case, but it's really compounded by just really, really stupid decisions. And I think like the Matrix buff is a great example of like, you know, we all make mistakes, but it was a really stupid decision. And you didn't need to be a genius to know that, because Matrix was always strong. It's just not strong in Overwatch 2 because she doesn't perform well in 5v5 with Matrix. You can't shoot and boost. Like, so when you ask D.Va players, hey, what's difficult about D.Va? Or when you look at D.Va, I'm like, what's difficult about D.Va? Well, she's slower than a lot of dive tanks. She can't shoot Matrix at the same time. Her ultimate is, you know, bad in any rank that isn't bronze. And remeching is awkward and difficult and risky. She has a lot of bad matchups. Like, there's a lot of things that D.Va was struggling with. But hey, it wasn't Matrix duration. Not in any way, shape, or form was it Matrix duration. And that's the worst thing about playing versus D.Va, is Matrix and Matrix duration. So this is where like bad balancing really is to blame for this here, because if we're going to make 5v5 work, D.Va needs tweaks to her movement speed and her lethality and the way that her weapons work, and she probably needs a nerf to her armor, and she probably needs a nerf to her Matrix, and they need to take a look at how she remechs, and like those are the things we need to be putting time into, not Matrix duration. And yet that's what we got. And so then that's why, you know, I can definitely say that, you know, we definitely can be like a little bit emotion driven with some of our critiques of things, but it's exacerbated by just really stupid balancing. You're not addressing any of the pain points of the character, and you're just exasperating the ones that were already there. Like, D.Va's completely overtuned, has been overtuned since Overwatch 2's release. She's just not played because she just doesn't fit Overwatch 2 very well. And so you have to address that.
Do you think that the proof is actually in the pudding of what they've said in their developer comment here? Because they've said, well, we buffed the Matrix and it didn't really change much. It's like, yes, right, because that was already strong.
That's not the problem. Right, it's not the problem. She just doesn't. She's just either matrixing you, and then she also, and I think Samita makes some really good points too about like some of the bad matchups for D.Va as well. Matrix duration doesn't help with that either. So it's like she just gets better at the things that she's already good at doing, and like that just doesn't work in the 5v5 format at all. And so like it's not par. You know what? I'm gonna shill. It's not par for the course for this development team recently. I think they've done a really good job, but that one really baffled me when that came out. That was like out of left field, and we don't have to go back and retread that ground. But it is worth pointing out that that's why Divas hate it right now. It's Matrix,
Bogur,
stupid Matrix.
What would you want to see done? I think you concur as well that you're not really a fan of how strong D.Va feels. So what would you want to see done instead?
Just delete that character. I hate that character so much. What is the point of that character? I never really clear. You play that. People play that character, but when you play against it, it feels like shit to play against D.Va. for like 50% of the cast, even more. Or you play D.Va and the enemy team just rolls you. I've had so many games where people just go Sim Zarya and you do nothing and they stay on D.Va and we lose the game. So it's shit to play. It's shit to play against. Why do we have this character? It's just so annoying. I don't like her. She doesn't feel strong, but she feels so annoying to play against, right?
Armor
Okay.
buff.
But buff her matrix, buff her armor, guys. Just more matrix time. I'm sure 90% of developers quit just before they make her matrix to 6 seconds and make her balanced. Just I don't know. I know the thing is, like, D.Va used to be so fun to play back in the day when you had another tank. And I'm not a 6v6 sexual, but like it was so much different because well, you could peel and you could eat oats and you can eat grass and you can do a lot of funny things and a lot of cool things, and it didn't feel too oppressive because she didn't do too much damage, I feel like. But now you play her and she's solo tank, and then you can't do any of the fun things, and you either just roll the team or you just get rolled, and I don't like her, and I just scrap her. Go again. Just start again. Start anew.
Like a rework, basically. You'd want to see her reworked in some way.
I don't like saying rework because every time we've like a lot of the times we've had reworks, we get reworks like Roadhog, which feels kind of boring, and I don't know how they're gonna rework it. So I don't know. Maybe try to rework her, but I just don't just give her another ability like Roadhog, because I hate the way they reworked Roadhog. They just give him a
D.Va with
Chungus.
frontline presence. D.Va with frontline presence with the trap. That's the.
Yes, give her a trap. Give her 2 traps.
But it's not a pig pen. It's a gamer pen this time. It's a different.
That's right.
It's
That's right. It's just a pile of like
more accurate.
monster cans.
Exactly.
Because I don't know how they're gonna nerf or buff her to make her feel good to play against or feel good to play. Because I don't know what they're gonna do. I genuinely don't know what you could do in that situation. Like, do you give her more damage? She's still gonna be annoying. Do you remove her matrix and she has no strength? What do you do? I don't know.
Please don't give her more damage, please.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it is where, like, it is fair, I would say, in this instance to call for rework, because you're asking for something fundamentally different than what, like, the way she plays should be fundamentally different, is what you're saying. I think a lot of the reworks have, some of the, like, they've been hit or miss, in my opinion. I think some of them have made the hero feel better, but not alleviated the fundamental frustration people have. And I think, you know, Roadhog just somehow got worse. I think with Sombra as well, like, people... I think people just still feel it really frustrating. Like, maybe it's more engaging, more dynamic, but it's like the fundamental experience of getting killed by an invisible character remains. And this is where the desire to keep the hero fancy, as they refer to it, is somewhat at odds with, well, it's also why I fucking hate the hero, right? Like, you're like, oh, I gotta keep the hero fancy if it is Sombra. Like, it's also why we fucking hate her. And, you know, Farah as well, people have been really fucking annoyed with her recently too. But, you know, again, they did a good job, I think, largely, but still, it's like, the fundamental frustration remains of this dive bomb flying character. So I wonder if D.Va's in that same boat.
Every time they've reworked anything because of frustration with the way the character is played, with the idea to change that, it's never changed the way the character is played. It's always the same. Like, Sombra still sits in spawn, and spawn camps her Zen. The fucking Roadhog just one-shots everything again anyways, and still annoying to play against, even though he's not broken. And then Farah mercies around the map and does her things. Yeah, I think Farah work is
better.
I think it's better. I agree. I think Farah work is fine. I think it's good. It's the better ones.
But it's a work in progress, you know. I think also as well as like I want to like clear, like I know Bogur agrees with me, but like I want to like commend works in progress. You know, like I don't think like the Farah rework is like a completed project or like we're asking for D.Va to just be fixed, you know, just fix D.Va, idiots. Like, what's wrong? This is so easy, right? But like, you know, we can step, you know, like I mean, even I think they half a step is still fine. Like, we're moving there. Like, I think people will complain about Farah, but I respect the attempt, and I think that it is a move in the right direction, and maybe long term we'll get there. And you know, in the meantime, she's definitely less oppressive than she was.
To push back against your blatant shilling, Spilo, what is long term though? Like, as someone who's ceased to play Overwatch, I'm
For
like,
Farah?
well, okay, for any of these heroes, I'm like, well, so what? Like, you want me in a year's time come back and maybe D.Va's okay? Maybe D.Va's okay in a year, SCV. Come back a year later when Deadlock is in full release. Marvel Rivals has gone 5v5 with Roll Q, and you know, then we'll come back and D.Va will be okay.
So the way I look at Diva is somebody that can just reposition herself quickly and apply pressure here and there. Like I don't think she should ever match the speed of like a Winston, Doomfist, or a Wrecking Ball with dives. But she does need to be able to reposition herself more frequently, and then she needs to be able to actually pressure instead of just absorb pressure. And I think that's where like you need to have a tweak to probably how fast she moves when she's shooting. I think you need to introduce some sort of mechanic where her mitigation, she can shoot or do something while she's matrixing, but then significantly nerf them. Like, I agree with Emiliath that you don't want to increase her damage ceiling, but you need to increase her damage floor. Because, like, it's really easy to just not do any damage with Diva at all. You get what I'm saying? And that's usually because you're either unable to get to close the distance, or you're unable to actually do anything because you're just matrixing all the time and hiding and matrixing and hiding and matrixing and hiding. And that you'd have to do some tweaks to armor. You'd have to do some being able to do damage while matrixing, or being able to move more frequently and then nerf her armor, nerf HP. Like right now, all she does is just damage sponge, mobile damage sponge, and then
She also does a ton of damage.
Right, if you get
She
a
just
point
instantly
Yeah,
blank,
but that's the
backline.
thing.
At a
It's
point blank range.
inconsistent. It's
Yeah.
inconsistent. Yeah.
it's super inconsistent in point
Well,
blank range.
Emmy, if you want
Go
to
ahead.
make your point, go ahead.
Please.
She just ints into the backline, which is the defense matrix, because she can get out for free because of how long it is.
Right.
And then she
Right.
kills a squishy because of the missiles. Like, she just dives in and kills you. You
Right.
can't really react to it that fast.
Yeah, if you can get to the back line, I mean, it's over.
They
No,
can.
but if she but if she can't, that's the thing. If she can't, there's really nothing you can do. She's too slow. You
Well, I
look at,
do sorry,
go
I do like
No.
that she's like a tank that kind of goes off angles and like shuts down people. Like, if somebody's on high ground, she goes and shuts down that person. I think
Yeah.
that's obviously that's how she's supposed to be played. But yeah, I don't know. Right now, she just
Yeah,
fully ents and kills your supports usually.
yeah. You know, and it is a credit that she wasn't a tank designed for 5v5, and I think that's kind of shows. So it's not like oh, it's just a simple solution, but there does have to be some progress at addressing some of her pain points. Has to.
I think the armor doesn't help. I think just the
For sure.
the vast amounts
I'm
of
surprised
armor.
they haven't fixed armor by yet. It took me 5 minutes on stream to figure out armor. I'm not like, and I add coders in my chat like, oh, that should be easy. Like, the reason that she's so strong now is just like Tracer, Genji, Soldier, you know, all these little instances of damage just does nothing. I'm really surprised. I would be shocked if in the next 2 months they don't do something with armor.
Well, what is the bug?
It's not a bug. It's just that they have it. It's a 10 damage reduction on instances. So
Mhm.
basically, if your damage is like 18 plus to like 18 to 30, 18 to 40, it's like your damage versus armor is really bad, right? And they did that because high instances of damage like Hanzo, Pharah were basically ignoring armor entirely, right? Well, problem is now that you're just butchering Genji's damage, Luciu's damage, etc. Fill in the blank. And all you need to do is you need to have like a minimum damage adjustment by armor, so that it's like a so-and-so percentage, whatever, it ever goes below that. And then a maximum damage. They already have the maximum, just introduce a minimum requirement, and then go back to 5 damage reduction. So basically the TLDR is that you could actually do damage as a Genji Soldier Tracer to an armor target, but the armor also actually does something to a Pharah rocket as well. That's it. I mean, I made like a 5-minute video on it, but it's like, it's there. It needs to be done.
Completely unrelated. Are you like Spilo? Are you sitting beneath like a calm stream of some sort, like a nice
Yes.
little
It's a cat
Zen
watering
garden?
thing.
A Zen garden.
No,
Is it
it's
just
a cat water thing.
I
Yeah,
feel
it's
like
a
I'm
cat
in ASMR land where it's like Spilo's yelling at me, but calmly in the background there's just like the sound of running water.
Yeah. No, it's a cat fountain. Apparently, cats like have like kidney disease problems because they don't drink enough water, and so if it's running, they drink a lot of water. So my cats guzzle water like all day.
I
long.
raided Spilo once, and he was like shouting at someone, like really funny and was aggressive. But then next time I streamed, they're like, "Who did you raid? He was so rude and angry. I scared you."
Wait, what?
That sounds like Spilo. That sounds like Spilo. Yeah.
And I was like, bro, he's
Was it
joking.
when you raided me?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah.
when you raided me?
And I was
Yeah,
like, he's joking, guys. Don't worry
Your,
about it. He's
your
not
chat
serious.
your chat came after me, so I was like, all right, that's it. I'm returning the favor, and it was like the trenches, man. It was like
It was so
shells dropping
funny.
back and forth. It was great.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Okay. Well,
Anyways,
let's get
what
through
we
the
got?
rest of the tank. There's only 2 other
Yeah.
tank changes, which might be to the ire of some people who want tanks to be nerfed a lot. Orisa. says Orisa is still underperforming, so we're increasing the impact damage of any javelin to better reward accuracy with the ability, and the damage increase from 60 to 80. Have any of you kind of felt this, seen this,
Bro,
agreed with
remove
this?
Orisa. Orisa is garbage. She's so unfun to play against. She's unfun to play. She's not even good. I don't understand. There's just some characters in this game that I just don't understand their existence, and Orisa is one of them. Nobody wants Orisa to be meta. Nobody wants to play. Okay, there's a few people that like.
There's like 5 people
one.
who very
There's
loudly complain
5.
about it.
But I think we're good without them. It's fine. But just Orisa in general, I don't even want to think about. I don't know if it's just her character design just annoys me since Overwatch 1 and PTSD since that was Shield. I just don't like this character at all. They reworked her completely, and I still don't like her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people will be like, Bogur just wants Winston to be the only tank remaining, but
Bro, I don't even want to play tank anymore. Fuck this role.
But yeah, I mean, I agree in the sense that I think we've spoken about it enough times on this podcast that like there's a certain hit list. D.Va isn't usually on the hit list, but I guess the overpowering of the D.Va right now is part of it. But usually Orisa, Mauga, Roadhog are the peak hit list tanks that we say always like send them to the farm. Spilo, how do you feel about Orisa?
I mean, I will limit myself to as few words as possible. I mean, she's still the anti-tank, so you know, I appreciate that they've been cautious about buffing her. I appreciate even what they buffed with like the javelin spin CD and the javelin, the more fun aspects to her kit. I think while we're being on the negative train here, I think the fortify slow nerf was one of the most bizarre nerfs that I've ever seen in Overwatch 2. It's like oh, it's nerf fortify in the most cringe way possible that reduces the playmaking capability. So now Fortify is just as strong at just standing there absorbing attention, but you can't do anything with it. I hated that so much. But yeah, anyway, long story short, there's a lot of things that they can do with Orisa. I actually think Orisa's a lot easier to balance than D.Va. Just helicopter Orisa, lead into the spear stuff, you know? But yeah, I will limit myself to few words.
Emmy, how about you? Is there a similar amount of disgust in your eyes for Orisa, or is it's passable?
No, not really. I mean, ever since her like big nerf when she kind of fell off, I haven't really had any thoughts about Orisa. Like, I don't mind playing against her. I guess I'm fine if I get one on my team, but I don't really get one on my team that often, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I think she can be balanced. I don't necessarily think she has to be deleted. But I don't play tank, so I don't know how many people enjoy playing her, so
Well, I think
maybe
tank
she
players
does.
particularly would not like going up against an Orisa because her whole point is to just chase the other tank around. So
Yeah. So I don't have to deal with her that much, honestly. And Juno's pretty good against her because you can speed out of her ult, so.
Everybody's good against her. She's so bad right now. I'll be honest.
Fair
She's
point.
just terrible. I never see Orisa.
Yeah.
Terrible character.
Yeah, I don't see her much often either.
well, someone who usually gets more play when Orisa's getting play would be Zarya. So you'd think Zarya would be getting a lot of play when D.Va meta too, but how do we feel about Zarya? The
I
developer
see Zarya
comments-
all the time. I'm
Yeah?
sorry for cutting you off.
I was
do
gonna
see
read the
Zarya all the
patch.
time. Yeah, fuck the patch. Joke.
So I'll describe the patch to you, and then you can decide to ignore it. Zarya's secondary fire didn't benefit much from the projectile size changes in Season 9 since it's mostly aimed at the ground. We're increasing its damage to keep it feeling effective relative to her primary fire beam, so the maximum damage and the minimum damage were both increased slightly. So go ahead, Bogur.
I see Zarya all the time. I don't know. I feel like 60% of my games is Zarya right now. I mind you, I'm not playing in GM lobbies on Juno. My Diamond and Masters, I see Zarya all the time. And for some fucking reason, my D.Va player keeps playing D.Va against a Zarya on King's Row. And I'm like, I just lose my mind every single time. But I see a lot of Zarya right now. I don't think Zarya is popular in GM, but I do see Zarya in lower elos. Because I do think she has a lot of carry potential. Like, there's a lot of situations where a good Zarya just flanks and just kills the backline. Can't really do much about it. You can, but at the same time, it's kind of rough. So I think she has a good spot, at least in lower tier ranked.
Spilo, you were
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
be
Bogur.
right back.
Okay, that's appropriate. Spilo, you were going to say
Don't tell
something.
Bogur. I think D.Va can work into Zarya and King's Row. Don't tell him.
He still had his
You see
headphones
how
on at
the
that point, so
Bro,
should have
you
waited.
He's
can't
so-
prove to
so
me that a
Your
diva
players
can
just
work.
suck.
Listen,
Your
a
diva players
diamond
just suck.
diva cannot fucking pop off against the
That is
Zarya.
true. That
In
is true.
Kincho.
That's
Thank
true.
you.
That's true. Every diva in like I'm convinced from like bronze to diamond just plays at like 20 meters and it just throws bomb. Like gets farmed, demeched, then throws bomb, and somehow wins games through just bomb alone. I have no idea. I've never seen an entire group of players have zero idea how to position more than diva players. Kiriko players being a close second. But yeah, it's anyway. I think the Zarya buffs were okay. I think like tank tank need a buff right now, like the role, yada yada yada. I want to get my head out of the sand with that one. I guess it's not the right term to use, but I'm gonna stay out of that discussion. But I think an all fire buff is fair. Zarya struggles with mobility. Zarya struggles with range. Alt fire is part of her range. Sure. It's whatever.
And you kind of feel fine about Zarya overall as like a hero right now?
Not long term. I still think she has like some major limitations. She's like a very. The hot take is that she's a skillful version of Orisa, where she's primarily kind of a tank buster with limited mobility and just kind of shoots what's in front of her. I know that Bubble does have playmaking potential for people split from her, but it's super inconsistent, and there's a lot of situations where you're not able to get that bubble value, right? If you're not playing with the DPS that take those angles, Genjis, Ventures, Reapers, and so on, it can be difficult to get bubble value outside of selfishly. So what ends up happening most of the time is you take space on main, like an Orisa, you use your bubble, like a Fortify, and you just keep doing damage. And I think, like I said, it's a much more skillful and mechanically intensive and thoughtful way of doing it, but it does have some of the same kind of limitations. So she's a little flawed, but it's not, because it's like skillfully flawed, it's passable for now.
Emmy, how about you?
Yeah, I don't think Zarya really feels oppressive at the moment, but I say that lightly because obviously I only think about Diva currently. And honestly, I don't get people to I don't get people starting out on Zarya very often. I get people swapping to Zarya all the time, but I don't really see people starting out on her most of the time. I get a lot of Reinhardts, Rams. I feel like those are the two tanks, and Roadhog, but I'm playing in Diamond, so Roadhog's probably a given.
Sadly, Roadhog's a
But-
given whenever you don't want him. So yeah, this is how
Yep.
he be.
I also agree with Spilo on the Diva thing. I think Diva can I shouldn't say easily, but I think Diva can play around as Zarya.
Just in
And-
time for Bogur to come
It
back.
depends on the map.
It's just it's a skill floor thing, It's like the diva has to like perform at a higher level than they have to be a smarter player. Like
Yeah,
you would
but it's
say
way
diva-
easier
Which
to
happens
do
a
it on
lot.
Gibraltar than
yeah,
King's
of
Row.
course. Yeah,
Yes.
of course. I think well, maybe I don't want to go down this rabbit, but I think Kings Row, at least once you have any semblance of game understanding at all, is a better dive map than is a brawl map, and has been since Overwatch 2 started.
Better dive map than a pro map.
Better dive map than a brawl map.
Bro, that is super high. Maybe it's super high elo. Maybe I would agree with you, but like 90% of the games, no shit.
Well,
I
that's a
don't
whole...
think. Okay, just final thought. I don't think that I've seen it. It works really well. Just 90%, 99% of the players just can't pull it off.
I think it's possible. You just have to have the knowledge, and I think
Well,
that's what's lacking.
that sounds like a challenge there for Spilo. I think Spilo needs to get a bunch of diamonds and coach them to beat a bunch of brawl
You don't even need to
teams.
coach
I was
it.
gonna
Just
say,
hey
isn't that
guys,
true of, like,
don't go to
anything,
point.
though?
Just take the high ground, and then
Yeah,
that's it.
it happens quite often in really high elo. So I don't disagree with Spilo. It's just like I don't think you should follow that advice for a night. Like, unless
you
you're
should follow
Bogur
the
has to
advice.
go and play in
Okay, well,
Diamond
let's-
today.
That's a
Follow
whole...
the advice. Just don't place the expectations that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that's a whole other discussion for a whole other time. Let's get
Yeah.
to talking about some of the other changes, especially so one big holistic change that the devs, as they said, they would reduce the HP of a lot of the high mobility heroes. So I'll rattle off here that we have Echo, Hanzo having their HP reduced, Sombra as well, the base HP, Torbjorn, but he had more armor given in turn, and I think and Juno. I'm trying to see who else. Kiriko and
Mhm.
Mercy here, and Moira and Lucio. So a bunch of heroes basically getting their HP cut was this a good thing or a bad thing? I'll go to Emmy first. Emmy.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. This is like way above my head. Um, I don't really feel it on support, but Juno and Kiri are the only two you said?
And Lucio Mora, I
Um,
think, as well.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
And
Well,
Mercy.
I do play a lot of Moira and a little bit more Lucio lately. Um, yeah, I don't really feel it that much. Maybe on Kiri because I do feel like Kiri kind of fell off, but I don't think it was because of this patch. I think it was because of a previous patch. But yeah, I don't really notice it that much.
Well, I'm anticipating a big Spilo lesson
Yeah,
being taught
he's
here.
like gearing up.
So I'm gonna go to the
Kind of.
bathroom
No,
while
I
while
agree.
he kind of gives us
I
a big
agree with
lowdown. So go ahead,
Emiliath,
Spilo.
though.
I agree with Emiliath. I think it's like I think for me, what's more interesting is like what was the intention behind it, and my gut is that it was like they just want more knobs to tweak. They want to see like if we turn the health knob, now that we can do that, now that we have more than 200 HP, how does this like play with win rates and performance of characters and like. I think I understand the intention. I just don't understand like I'm with you. I don't know how I feel about it exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel much different to me. Like I just
Yeah.
don't get the point of it, I guess.
I think it's
Yeah.
really good. I don't know if it's good. Okay, that was not my point. But my point was that no. It's an interesting solution
Yeah.
because I've been playing a lot of Junkrat. It's an interesting solution to buffing a bunch of characters that are that were so garbage. I didn't think Jungle was too garbage, but I think he was pretty bad because the one shot wasn't consistent, and then Hanzo as well. So these
That
two
is true.
characters at least got giga buffed by the HP nerf. So it's an interesting
right.
solution
I did
to
forget about
buffing
that.
these characters without actually giving them any buffs. So
Yeah.
maybe it's
Right.
genius or maybe really stupid, but I'm not sure.
The thing they have to clarify is they have to actually say are one shots okay in our game or not? Because the entire point of season 9 was burst damage and whatever, and it's turned out okay at least with like but like then is it just selectively one shots are okay and versus certain characters? I think there has to be like a consistency of thought here. And I'm not saying that they can't roll back stuff if it doesn't work. It's not like you have to tell me what your vision is and you're not allowed to change it. But it is weird that they're like, oh, we did season 9 because burst damage, one shots. All right, well, and then now Hanzo has this one shot versus a lot of characters, and Junkrat, like you said, has this 2-tap. I mean, they even like did the math with his primary fire buff or his conk buff so that he wouldn't be able to 2-tap 250 HP characters, and now that's back again. And the same thing with Sojourn Rail, and like they've tried to do tweaks with that to avoid the one shot. So like, I would just be curious to see like, is it just that they're kind of like trying to find out where their identity is or not? Because it feels really bad to get virused as a Juno and be like, oh, I am dead. It feels really bad, to be playing like a Kiriko now and playing against Kiriko and being like, oh, I can now be 2-tapped again as a Kiriko. It's not that doesn't have a place in the game. Maybe it's fine. Maybe Hanzo deserves to have his one shot. I think that I'm much more on the fence of that. But what's interesting to me is to seeing how their philosophy evolves and continues to evolve, and it seems like they're just trying to figure out like where they stand, and I'm curious to see what their stance is on that.
I've been getting so much whiplash from like getting one shot by a Hanzo because I forgot he can do that, right? Because like now they nerfed the HP, especially on Juno. I'm playing Juno, and I've never actually been one shot, especially because I'm a tank player, right? So I'm just sitting there and I run and get headshot, and I just like, wait, this character can one shot now. Same goes with Junkrat as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with Spilo here. It's I know where they stand. Do they do they want one shots? Do they not want one shots? Because Hanzo without the one shot is just such a boring character. I'll be honest with you. Boring to play, boring to watch. It's useless. So, but it's also really annoying to get one shot across the map. So, what do you want to do? I don't know.
Especially because he
Yeah.
plays kind of like Junkrat. He's very
He does.
spammy.
Yeah, but there are some Hanzo players that are really good at Hanzo,
No,
and
I
it's
agree.
so cool to watch them like consistently hit headshots. But at the same time, it feels really bad to play against. So
I feel like
Everything
this is
feels
just
bad to play against, so it's like, we have to
True.
kind of choose our limits, like what is a tolerable one shot? Nobody says that Ryan's pin's unfair, at least nobody with a brain, right? So what's tolerable and what's not? Where's our tolerance level there?
I think this is an area that Overwatch seems to permanently go back and forth on because, again, if I was to really get into it, I would just say that it's like there isn't a cohesive ideology set in stone of like this is what we're balancing towards, and then that kind of changes as each season goes. So it's like, okay, we gave some heroes more HP to remove one shots. Oh, okay, we don't know how to fix Hanzo and Junkrat now, so we're gonna go back on the one shot a little bit because people aren't complaining about it right now. So then we'll wait, and then 2 seasons later, when people start complaining about it again, we'll go back on that. So I feel like this is like a perpetual cycle that Overwatch tends to go down, where it's like they're not really sure, and they don't really want to rework these heroes. I think because, again, the logistics of it is like, it seems like it's legit easier to just tweak everyone's HP than to be like, we're going to rework these 5 heroes that are the reason we're reworking everyone's HP. We're just going to go and put these guys in the shop for a while. So if I had a criticism, it would just be the slowness of the ability to actually change heroes on a holistic level on a bigger scale. Beyond like, we're giving everyone a bigger hitbox and more HP. Because I don't think that's the same to me. Like, I want to see like 10 heroes get changed in a really fundamental way in one patch. Not
Bring
for the
back
sake of...
PTR.
I don't think that'll do it, though. I don't think
we
it's
kind
a
of
lack.
have that, don't we? Don't we have that?
PTR?
Like I will. Well, okay, not literally, but I will give credit that like we have been trying a lot of crap, like more recently. Not specifically PTR, but like we have been doing more stuff. Whether it's like the quick play hacked or like the experimental mode or like mirror watch and stuff like that. Like they haven't, maybe not as much as they'd like, but like it's there.
Well, those are like format changes, though. Like I'm not really talking about.
Some of them have been. Some of them have. Like some of the stuff that they've done. Remind me, what they've had a couple of changes they tested, and
so they had like the pickable passives. They had You could
not
pick
quick play hack. Not
The
quick play
pickable
hack.
passives were actually kind of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I just don't know how you would balance that.
Well, fuck the balance. Make it fun.
It was really fun though.
It was fun.
What are
We
you
had
referring to? Spilo?
the
Sorry, about. I'm trying to figure
No,
out.
I was referring to like some of the April Fools and Mirror Watch stuff where they were
Right,
felt
but
like
those
they
are
were
not.
trying to.
But again, those are not in the game.
Yeah,
those
that's
are-
fair. That's fair.
Those are just
And I
like
don't
things
think
we
those
threw
are
out.
serious.
I feel like
That's
we test a lot of things, except group respawn. They don't really do much with it, or it doesn't feel like they do much with it. So maybe we have to wait more. But like, obviously, people don't like waiting, and I think it would be cool if what
The content creator patch. That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I was thinking of. Now, are those in the game? I don't think so. But
I
like,
don't think so.
No.
well, they did.
The
They
thing-
did a,
What?
like light.
Also-
kind of, sort of, not really. No.
Also, that was another example of like, was it not just like a lot of stuff that the content creators were very restricted. They were told to make it April Foolsy, and half of it was like we brought back Scatter Arrow. It's like, it wasn't like we were really
yeah.
actually like so.
But
I mean,
SK's Lifeweaver was goated. Besides
I
the
mean-
double pedal platform.
Bro, Lifeweaver is goated right now in general. I think it's good.
Yeah.
anyways, I won't put too much stock in my criticisms because, like I said, I'm just complaining as someone who has general wide like existential critiques of Overwatch. But for me, if we're to position me as a demographic Overwatch player, which is someone who just doesn't enjoy Overwatch anymore, one thing that would help me come back would be like actual big changes to the heroes themselves. No, I wouldn't get drawn back by like, oh well, there's some 225 HP heroes now SCB, and there's some 250 HP heroes SCB, and the hitboxes are bigger. I'd be like, oh shit, they actually really changed like, again, like pickable passives they gave them to every hero, or like, they fundamentally reworked like Diva and Hanzo and Junkrat and Roadhog and like, all of them are in the same patch. So I can come and try, and it's like whole new frontier, and like the game feels quite different. Like there's a lot of differences there. So that's my complaint. Again, I don't know if that's like a developer time issue. It's a lack of desire issue.
It's what League does, what Dota does, and what makes me
Right.
want to play a few games. And I don't stick around because I need to work Overwatch. I need to clock in for my Overwatch shift. And I don't really want to play games afterwards. But if I didn't have to clock in for Overwatch, I would probably grind a lot more for the Dota patches and the League patches and whatever. Because like it's just so big. So many things happen. There's so many changes, and it feels so fun to actually get back into it. Because like, actually, just changing numbers is so boring. I'll be honest. Just in like HP buffs, armor buffs, whatever. Just having a more substantial buff or change that would make characters like just play differently. That would be fun. Or just how the map functions or the game modes function or something cool. So I don't know. That is my I agree with SVB. I just wish there was like more reason to come back to the game other than just, oh, I'm going to play a few matches and then log off, right? There is nothing too grand outside of slight or gigantic number changes, and number changes aren't that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, speaking personally, because I don't want to speak for anyone, not me. I think over the last 2 seasons, I've probably played like double-digit hours of Overwatch. When previously it might be easily triple-digit per season, right? So in the last 2 seasons combined, I probably played like double-digit hours of Overwatch. And I guarantee you that if I booted up Overwatch right now, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's still Overwatch. It's still, like, it's exactly what I remember. Okay, they got a new hero, and maybe now D.Va's strong when previously it was XYZ who was strong. But it's okay. I in 5 games, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's still annoying. That's still annoying. This guy's still like this. That guy's still like that. And then I'd like be like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna go back to playing some other game. So not to be too doomer, negative Nancy, or anything. That's just my opinion. Like that's how I feel about how I view the game. But any other thoughts on this kind of stuff before we continue through the patch notes? No?
I don't know. I always am like, it's so hard to get like what is an objective opinion on like where is Overwatch for the hardcore player, the average player, the new player, the player that's not actually playing Overwatch right now and is interested in getting into it. I don't know. I agree with you that like having like bigger changes would get people to come back and try again and get people more interested in trying Overwatch for sure though.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's no right answer. Like the devs have to make a call, right? Like maybe the priority that they have is that they would rather keep a stable game that like satisfies its large player base or whatever, like largely the player base that exists today. So maybe that's their priority, which is totally valid. And you don't have to, just because people stop playing your game doesn't mean you have to cater to them. Like you can cater to the people who continue to play your game. Like just because I'm like, I don't want to play anymore doesn't mean you have to draw me back. So fair enough. That's just my personal feeling on what I would like to see. And as Bogur pointed out, that's what a lot of other successful games do. But again, doesn't have to be what Overwatch does. And also, I think it maybe is a more existential concern now because there's a lot of new games out in the sense of Marvel Rivals and Deadlock. There's like, if you're looking for freshness, there's a lot of freshness out there as we speak. So maybe that's another area where Overwatch is at odds with that. Okay, moving to Sojourn then. Developer comment: after reducing the maximum damage of the railgun secondary fire, we're continuing to look at the effectiveness of Sojourn's primary fire. These changes are to make it more accurate and better reward accuracy by increasing the energy gain from headshots. So the primary fire weapon spread reduced, critical hits now grant 10 energy, and energy degeneration rate reduced from 33 to 15 per second after 7 seconds. Spilo, I'll go to you first. How do you feel about this?
Good. Oh, great. It's exactly what they need to do. Only complaint I have is the delay between the rail and primary fire against it. It doesn't flow so smoothly. It feels like the old finishing blow, like blam, but that's not the identity that she should have had. I've been saying this for 2.5 years, and they're finally learning their lesson. I'm starting to sound like flats. And now I'm just like, hey, like let's remove that last relic, that last delay, and like let's just let the gun flow naturally. Shoot rail, shoot rail, shoot rail, shoot rail. If they remove the delay, they might need to nerf some other things involved in her kit by a little bit, but I mean, immediately just feels like fun. It feels like a vertical soldier with a railgun instead of a helix, and it just feels fun. It's good. Great stuff.
Flat says, welcome to the dark side. Bogur, how about you? Are you happy with Sojourn Gaming?
I haven't seen much Sojourn, I'll be honest with you. I think it's a alright change. I was kind of afraid maybe Sojourn meta comes back or something, or maybe it's too broken, but I don't play Sojourn, so I don't think my opinion is valid. I've been playing in lower elo for a while now, just silly goosing, so I don't think my opinion is valid either. And third of all, I still haven't seen much Sojourn, so maybe it's a good change, but again.
People are slow to pick stuff up. Same thing with
Yeah, I
Diva.
agree. I think it takes some time. So maybe we'll see in the future.
Emmy, same for you? You're not seeing much Sojourn?
In the beginning I wasn't, but this past like couple days I have been seeing more people pick her again. And as somebody that has to play against her, because I don't play her, she doesn't feel bad so far. I guess we'll see once people get used to her, but I think she feels okay.
Okay, that's good. Well, the next hero maybe we'll have a bit more disagreement on that sense of like whether she feels nice or not. Sombra having a few changes here. So the developer comment reads, the increased movement speed while in stealth will better enable Sombra to get into advantageous positions or be slightly more evasive with the new lower health. So her base health reduced from 250 to 225, virus impact damage increased from 25 to 35, and the stealth bonus movement speed increased from 45 to 60%. I'll go to you first, Emmy. You kind of said earlier that you felt like these were not necessary changes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the stealth change, I guess, since her health got changed. But I think really if they want to allow her to get away, I don't think the stealth is the issue. The issue is how quickly she would get into stealth with her TP, because usually you're TPing away. So I don't know if that really has as much impact as they think it will. Virus was a weird change. I don't think that was necessary. I think it was easy enough to kill people already. Yeah, especially with the health nerfs on other characters. I don't know. That was just a weird change.
So overall, you're a
But-
bit mixed bag on these.
Yeah, overall, I think it was unnecessary, and I think she's very strong. And I don't think she, like, as somebody that both plays her and has to play against her, I think it was kind of a ridiculous buff. I don't think it was necessary. The stealth one I'm okay with, but virus was not necessary.
Bogur?
I know I've been, especially in Juno, it just feels so bad to play against Sombra, I'll be honest. Because as I said, like, if your support doesn't look at you to help you, you just kind of die against her most of the time, unless you have good positioning, of course, maneuver. But even if you try to maneuver her, just the take damage of the Sombra virus, and just a little bit of poke, you just die. So I'm not too happy about it. But I don't know if it's too strong. I feel like Sombra was kind of bad before. I don't know if this is enough to make her really good or anything. Sombra is one of those characters that a lot of the time isn't good, but it's so fucking unfun to play against that people remember all of those unfun times that people picked Sombra and just think she's broken, but she isn't really. So yeah.
Yeah, it kind of
Whatever.
reminds me of the whole tank counter swapping where it's
Yeah.
like, Spilo of all people would be like, you're not necessarily going to win if you counter swap the enemy tank. But it sure as shit feels annoying, though. Sure as shit feels annoying when I'm the one being counter swapped. So I'm sure Sombra's in the same boat of like, maybe the Sombra's not winning, but she's not letting me have fun.
Yeah.
Spilo.
Yeah, I mean, it's poop. Sucks. So maybe the worst change that they did out of the entire patch notes. Virus is already front-loaded way too much of Sombra's value. Perma Stealth is already front-loaded so much of Sombra's value, and now those things are even stronger. I don't want to. My opinion of things, not that, is that I think when you have a character that has permanent stealth, it's almost impossible to balance because you can't account for perfect staging. Every other character has to take time or positions or setup. Like even Wrecking Ball gives away his position when he's coming in, so that there's ways of approach angle is very important with Wrecking Ball, right? And Sombra could just be anywhere that she wants at any point in time, and like you can't balance for that. You can't stop people from spawn camping. You nerf Virus, well then now she can't take a duel when she's not spawn camping, right? Now you don't do any damage to tanks, and so like there just isn't really any way to balance things out. I think the rework made her a lot more enjoyable and engaging, and a lot more high risk, high reward. But as long as Sombra revolves around permanent stealth, like you will not be able to fix hack. You will not be able to fix virus. I don't even think hack and virus necessarily are flawed designs. Like I think hack is super lame. But like at least if you could see the Sombra, or there's a period of time where you know where Sombra, like there has to be something in there. And like right now it's like it's bleh. It sucks. Like you guys were saying, it sucks to know that like, hey, I won the game, but Sombra spawn camped me like 3 times. It's not fun.
I actually disagree with you saying that her rework is more fun. I think it lowered her skill ceiling and it made her less fun because there's less skill expression with her. And I think that's a hot take because there's so many people that started playing Sombra after the rework because she's easy to get into now. And I think it just made her more unfun to play against and more unfun for people that actually played the character.
I enjoyed more of like that there's like risk with my engagements, and I felt
That's
like I had to
fair.
be a little bit. But I understand exactly what you're saying as somebody that also coached Sombra extensively before that, like the translocator permanently and how that adjusts your engagements. Been looking at Lip Sombra, right? Like that's the classic example. Like that guy was insane pre-rework. And I know he's not a fan of the rework either. So yeah.
I actually agree with your take as well, Emmy, but that's also because I'm biased because like I think like a month or 2 months before the Sombra rework, I had like I did like 7 days in Sombra. I got coached by Fitzy, so I was like very much schooled in the art of, okay, you gotta put your translator down here. 3 seconds later, you're gonna be here. In 4 seconds, they're gonna do that. So be prepared. Whereas like that's not really.
It was
what
way
it is
more
anymore.
mind games. So much more fun.
Yes, I think there remains then and now the same frustration of, like, as Spilo said, I think fundamentally an invisible permanent vis character will always annoy. Like you because even like Tracer, you can see, okay, she blinks around there or she has to come from here. Just this bitch appearing out of nowhere, hacking you, shooting you, annoying. But I do think that the new Sombra is more like active. She's more like damage dealy. The old Sombra was more tactical. I feel like it was much more about like being in the right place at the right time for the right thing to happen, and to stop the right thing from happening. So,
I think 100% kind of stupid opinion, but I think every game should have annoying characters. So maybe Sombra is a necessary evil. Maybe. I think it sounds funny. I think it sounds stupid. But every game has really annoying characters, and as long as these characters aren't too OP, it's fine. Because you can't really do, like, how are you going to rework Sombra so she's annoying without losing her identity? I don't think that's going to happen.
Just don't give her permanent stealth. We've already done it before. She's
yeah,
already
but she was
Yeah.
she was annoying back then as well.
because she had a 5 or whatever second hack duration.
she's
That is
annoying in
true.
different ways. To be fair, it was
Yeah.
annoying, like,
Not like
early
you know,
Sombra
like
was
she-
annoying because the
she
health pack gave
zero
ult
damage
charge.
as well. She did
Yeah.
0 damage. She does actual
But-
damage now.
But if you nerf her stealth, what do you buff? Like, because I don't think she's good right now. I don't think she's OP or anything. I think she becomes giga garbage if you nerf her stealth.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's not an easy answer. at
Because
all.
we don't like the long hack. We also don't like the perma stealth. So we also don't like her doing too much damage because then she becomes Tracy. So I don't think it's an easy solution.
Who designed Sombra? Who designed Sombra? Like, somebody
Who
has
is that?
Spilo's like, send him some
the
hate mail, man.
stealth?
Send him some
Okay,
hate mail right
hacking
now.
and removing your ability to use your abilities, also removing passives. Like, who cooked here? Like, what is that? Tell you what,
I
man,
think she's fun.
she's unique. You know, I'll give you that. But
Like
honestly,
a lot
if
of people really like playing Sombra.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
what it is. It's
yeah.
like if you want to know which character in the game is annoying, go
lot
and
of
see
people
which
like Moira,
go
too.
go see which one Fitzy's playing in a video game. That one will. 'Cause
yeah,
it's
yeah.
as Bogur said,
Sombra,
every game will have annoying characters. In Dota, he plays a character called Silencer, which, as the name might suggest, he silences other people from doing stuff. So he
Does
basically
he play
hacks them.
Silencer?
Yes, he does. Well, his main is
That's funny.
Invoker. His main is Invoker who EMPs, who has a EMP. But when he can't pick Invoker, he picks Silencer, who has a global silence. So he pushes a
I
button,
think
and everyone on the map cannot use their abilities for like, or an
I
enemy on
think
the map.
every single ability except one on Silencer actually hacks. You know, it's the same concept.
Yes,
like
it's just like
It's
silencing you.
actually really funny. Like
Yeah, it's like stops you
Silencer
using
is
your
Sombra on
abilities.
steroids.
Yes, so
Nice.
that's what you should
The
know.
only annoying character that gets to pass for me is Junkrat. I just find them funny.
He's
Well,
too
Junkrat's-
bad to be annoying. To be fair,
Yeah,
I think
you can
that's
also
good, though.
counter him
And it's also
easier.
really funny to watch a good Junkrat pop off because he's just
Oh,
so
yeah.
bad. So I think that's a good balance right there. It's really annoying, but you know he's bad, so it's your own fault for losing against him.
Yeah, or it's really, and also like, I guess it's always like, oh, I should have done something differently there, or like that was a crazy shot. You know, sometimes with
Yeah.
Sombra versus some matchups, like I think a great example is 2 characters that are okay. I'm gonna cook. 2 characters that are horribly designed. Sombra versus Widowmaker. What are you supposed to do as Widowmaker? I mean, there is things that you can do, but it is almost impossible to do anything because Widow only does the one thing. Sombra only has that one permanent stealth, and so it's literally impossible to balance that matchup because you have just 2. All right, I'm not going to say because Emiliath plays Sombra, but yeah, they're just not the best created characters, like at least right now, right? And it's just like, dude, you can't solve it. Like you can't
Yeah.
solve it.
But at the same time, it's kind of the point, isn't it? Like somebody picks Widow, you like swapping is a big part of
Counter-swapping.
Overwatch. You counter swap to Sombra.
Oh,
and...
so the tank player is telling me that counter.
Oh no! Listen.
Hard counters.
I'm not a
Hard
tank player.
counters are-
Or listen, I've changed. Listen, I'm telling you.
okay.
Also,
Here's the difference.
Widow is
The
a widely
difference-
hated character too.
the
Listen,
difference
I
here
no,
is-
I agree. Widow's worse than Sombra. That's my spicy take.
I hate Widow.
Widow's worse
Well,
than
so
Sombra.
this is to
As
Boger's
a
point.
Winston player, I think Widowmaker is fine.
I thought you just said 5 seconds ago you're not a tank player anymore. You can't keep
Yeah,
changing your
that's
stance.
Listen, you gotta keep changing it up.
You
That's
can't
a good
keep-
streamer mentality.
I will allow you one stance, not two
Okay,
simultaneous
okay.
stances. I do
Just
think
a
this
silly
goes back
guy.
to your point, though. Like you said, that every game should have. I would say every game will have. I think rather than should.
Yeah,
should
that's
like
true.
will is like it's inevitable that you'll like add a fun hero, quote unquote, that's like annoying as shit for everyone else. In an ideal world, maybe we don't have any annoying characters, but it's like an impossible ask in a realistic sense for a developer to never make an annoying character. The best they can do, as you guys said, is like make them bad, at least. If they're annoying, at least make them bad. Or at least make them like very niche so that they're kind of only seen in a few situations.
It's hard. And again, I want to echo what I said earlier as well, where like I know I'm like going on my soapbox here, but I don't expect perfection. Like not that everything revolves on me in the first place, but also I'm not going to not play Overwatch until every character is perfectly designed and nuanced and dynamic and mobility creep. It's fine. It's annoying. I'm gonna grouch about it here and there when I get my watermelon-sized head as Juno shot by a Widow again and again, or spawn count. But it is what it is.
Okay, well, the last DPS then left on our list is Torbjorn, who, again, just saw a shift from his base health going to armor instead, so 25 either way. Any strong feelings on this change from anyone? I don't think this really requires too much unpacking, but yeah, okay. Torb.
Are there any Torbjorn connoisseurs? Like,
I think they've went extinct. I'll be honest.
yeah.
They're all they're all 40 on Facebook and driving trucks, I think.
Yeah. I know one Torbjorn main from EU is just like heavy lifter now, just in Germany, just lifts. That's all he does.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Torbjorn mains are just Reinhardt mains. I got a little confused.
Bro, Torbjorn mains are just Reinhardt mains, but way chiller. They don't care if Torbjorn is bad. They don't care if Torbjorn is good. Have you seen a Torbjorn player complain about Torbjorn being bad? Never. I've never heard that.
Or anything in general.
They
They
just
just kinda-
they're just doing their thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. I like Torbjorn mains.
They vibe. Okay, let's move
Tier
on to
list
sport.
after this.
Yeah, who's the
Best
chillest?
mains.
Who's the chillest? Heavily, definitely not by brackets, not biased. Okay, let's move on to Iliari then. So the developer comments quite a lengthy one. It says Iliari can deal a lot of damage over the course of a game, and bear in mind actually that there's a new patch subsequent to this one that pulled back some things on Iliari, but Iliari can deal a lot of damage over the course of a game, but may have too much ammo, given that her projectiles are easier to land hits due to their increased projectile size. We're also removing the extra environment collision size on her Captive Sun projectile, so it doesn't accidentally detonate early when firing at a nearby wall and such. There's a similar fix to prevent her secondary fire beam from impacting a wall instead of allies near it. So her maximum ammo went down 16 to 14, and the projectile collision size got reduced. So I'll quickly read as well, because she did get changed in this recent patch, which is that her maximum damage was reduced from 75 to 70, and her minimum damage reduced from 25 to 20. So overall, both these changes considered, how do we feel about Iliari? I'll go to Spilo first.
I mean, I have a buddy of mine that threatened me physical harm if I trashed on Iliari too much. She's fine. I don't know. She's like, they nerfed the damage afterwards, which was good. She's just a DPS support. That's all she is. She's just Moira for people with aim. That's it. So not a lot of nuance, not a lot of interesting engagements or positions or angles or plays. You just kind of shoot, and that's that. So that's Iliari. Those are my thoughts.
Well, as someone who plays Moira and aims, Emiliath, how do you feel about Iliari?
Yeah, I think she needed a nerf because she was like frustrating to play against, especially as a DPS player when you can't outrange her. So I think the nerf on her damage was good. But after these, I have not seen her played like at all. So I don't know. I haven't played her just because I don't play her that much anyway. So I don't know if she's terrible or if people are just playing Juno or what.
Yeah, it would make sense that would have an impact. Like, not only are 50% of the players playing Juno, but also Iliari probably bad with Juno, I imagine. So doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's
Some
true. That's a
breakpoints
good point.
changed, I think, with their weapon nerf as well. It wasn't just like the damage, but I think some breakpoints changed.
Mm.
That would make sense. Bogur, have you been seeing a lot of Iliari?
I haven't seen a lot of Laurie. I've seen her here and there, but I don't know. As you know how Zarya is like the tank character for DPS, so Laurie is the support character for DPS. I feel like so. I don't know, just one-dimensional character. I don't feel too strongly against her. You're just playing Kovacs 90% of the lobby. And I don't know. I haven't seen much of her. I don't think she's too broken or anything. So I think she's okay.
Okay, so we already talked a lot on Juno. I'll just read the developer comment and we can move on, to be honest, unless you guys have anything else you want to add. But community feedback on Juno's trial was split between over and underpowered. On the stat side, she performed strongly in most every categories, but particularly overperformed in healing output over the course of a game. These changes are improving her utility while pulling back lightly on healing throughput, since we'd still like her to launch in a strong state as players grow accustomed to her playstyle. There were also quite a few quality of life improvements that are listed elsewhere in the patch notes. So anything else you guys want to add that you maybe forgot to mention about Juno? No?
I was a hater of the nerfs at first, but I do really like them, and I think she came out more balanced than I thought she was going to be. And the audio adjustments were really, really good. Her audio is incredible, in my opinion, for like the pulsers and all that. I don't know. It's a lot better.
Okay, nice. We'll move to Kiriko then. Developer comment. I haven't even read this before, but this first sentence sounds salty as fuck. Despite the perception of how powerful Kiriko feels to play against, she's a hero that consistently underperforms when it comes to winning games. Sorry, I'd never read that.
That is true.
That's fucking salty as shit, dude. That's salty as shit. Whoever wrote this was just like absolutely molding. They're like, fucking, you guys think she's broken? However, she is a highly evasive hero that makes a lot of sense to be in the 2-5 health bracket. To help counterbalance the loss of health, we're smoothing out her damage dealing consistently by increasing the kunai weapon's base damage, removing the enhanced critical multiplier. So the critical multiplier reduced, damage increased, recovery time increased. Didn't they do something like this before as well? Didn't they change her her multiplier before as well?
Further.
Yeah, they nerfed it the first time.
They keep bringing it back down to earth, which is smart.
Okay, any thoughts on this then, Spilo?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's still Kiriko because she can teleport through walls. But I think, like, dude, Kiriko is such an interesting character because, I'm sorry, you're objectively wrong if you think Kiriko is easy to play. Like, you're actually just dumb. You're just dumb. You might think that she's easy to play because she beat you in a duel with Suzu, but the problem and the reason why so many people have that opinion, I don't necessarily hold it against them, is the fact that nobody sees a Kiriko Suzuing herself and then teleporting back to her team as, oh, we can now win this fight. They're just like, oh, Kiriko just got away for free. You know, now she's just going to heal her tank to full, and but it's like, it's actually so bad for the Kiriko player that happened, that she was unable to get the kill or unable to force CDs. But that's like the exact kind of game design flaw, where it's like forcing CDs and only forcing CDs is not a good gameplay loop for a character design. And so, you know, you have a character that is really strong in off angling and in proactivity and all that kind of stuff, but then she basically literally has 2 get out of jail free cards. It's not satisfying to force get out of jail free cards. It's satisfying to shoot her in the head. And then in addition to that, you have a character it's relatively difficult to aim with, but you don't have to aim particularly well because you can just spam at head height with her fire rate and with the headshot multiplier. And that's another problem as well. They're migrating away towards that with the headshot thing. I think that's really good. Like, your fire rate's slower. You have to aim your shots a little bit more. It's not just RNG of whether you hit a headshot or not. Now body shots actually matter. Her matchups aren't so heavily swayed towards doing tank damage is terrible. Now you can actually do tank damage. I think they're going to need to still look at like Swift Step. I still think Suzu needs to be looked at. I think this is like a step in the right direction, but it's just an interesting like little study piece about like why she's such a hated character despite underperforming, despite being relatively difficult to play even in higher levels. It's because of this kind of stuff, you know.
I will disagree with your take for one, Spilo, and I will hold my hand up and say I guess I am dumb then, because I do think she's a hella easy to play. And I think you kind of spelled out a lot of those reasons already, which is that if you have 2 get out of jail free cards and it doesn't require much execution to execute your things, I don't know what else we need for a character to be categorized as easy to play.
Well,
you may at optimal level need more, but my definition of an easy, like, this is just like the same you could argue for Moira. It's like, well, I can DPS Moira, and oh well, in theory, the DPS Moira isn't getting value if you force her out or if she's doing some dumb shit. But at the end of the day, she pushes a button and flies away, and you can't do much about it. And you're relying on your team to capitalize on the window of opportunity.
It's easy to not die. It's not easy to win. That's what I'm saying.
But those are different things. I think when I think of easy to play
Well,
character, we'd
like,
talk about skill floor, right? We'd say like, okay, well,
Yeah.
this character, you can do it, like go in and play this character and it's hard to die, which I think
Sure.
puts her in the easy to play category.
But again, dying is not like not dying is not winning. You know, when I'm saying easy to play, I mean like you need to win the game. Like you need to provide more value than the other support. And I think Kiriko, it's harder to provide, at least in
Do
her
you
current state, more
Do
value
you
than other
consider
supports.
Moira an easy to play character?
Yeah, relatively. I think hitting
You
the
think
floor
she's
for
easy
value is
to
easier.
win with, though?
Yeah, I think so. For a lot of ranks, it depends on how. I mean, we've had this discussion before. SVP, a skill floor and a value floor are different things. Like how good is the character, and how easy is it to get to that initial skill floor. And I think Moira, her struggles are less to do with like reaching her base skill set, more about the character just is not that strong. I
That's
understand what
fair.
you're saying, Emiliath. It's a really tricky discrepancy. It's the same thing with Junkrat, right? Like, is Junkrat that good right now? No. Is Junkrat pretty easy to pick up and play? Yeah. But is Junkrat really hard to master and get a lot of value out of? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you could put Kiriko in a lot of those same boxes. Like, is she easy to do at a baseline? Yes. Is that baseline value very high? Probably not. But is the skill ceiling very high? Yes. But again, if we're talking like again, maybe I'm being a bit pedantic, but the idea of easy to play to
Yeah, I
me is
understand.
tick box Kiriko. Like you put anyone on this character who plays like actual heroes that require positioning, and they're never gonna die, and they're gonna like run around the map, do whatever they want. Maybe they won't win, but they're gonna find it very straightforward. Anyways, Bogur,
Sure.
your thoughts on Kiriko?
Kiriko is very annoying to play against because, like Spilo said, I really hate the fact. Okay, so when you play against Ana, it's really cool to play against Ana because if she has really cool tools like the sleep dart and the nade. So these tools need to be used in a correct way or you die. So if I jump in with Winston, I need to play around the sleep dart and I need to place my bubble correctly, but Diana knows that if she's good, so she goes inside my bubble or does something else cool. And yada yada yada. If she hits the sleep, she lives. If she doesn't, she dies. With Kiriko, there is none of that. You jump Kiriko, she TPs away. And she TPs through 5 walls across the map, and I just hate it. And it's so annoying. It doesn't feel like she's too oppressive or OP, but it just feels so boring to play against because you just need to force her Suzu and her TP, and then you can kill her, which is doable and happens a lot, but it's just a lot less fun than, you know, the entire mind battle that you do with Ana, for example. It's another reason why I really hate Baptiste, because like there's no thinking to it. You jump the map, he uses his lamp, and he either jumps away or he uses his shift afterwards. And if nobody POs him, he maybe dies. But if they PO him, he doesn't die. So I don't know. It's just I prefer more characters like Ana and less characters like Kiriko Baptiste.
Makes sense. I think those are thoughts that kind of we have, you know. I don't think that many in the community would disagree with you on those fronts. But maybe, you know, some will, because that's how people be. Okay, any other thoughts on Kiriko before we move to Lifeweaver? Okay, Lifeweaver then. I think we've got, okay, actually quite a few supports, but I think most of that is just their health was changed. Lifeweaver, the pedal platform was too easy to waste if a player accidentally ran over it without intending to make use of it. Now it resets back to the ground if no one is standing on it. We're also reducing its health so that it's more reasonable counterplay to destroy the platform. Healing Blossom will now passively charge at a slower rate to enable players to swap between weapons without the fear of falling too far behind when swapping back to healing. So it can now progress passively at a reduced rate. This is the Healing Blossom, and no longer reduces movement speed when holding at full charge. The pedal platform duration now only counts when the platform is raised. Platform now resets if no one is standing on it for 2 seconds. The duration is increased, the health is reduced, and then the rejuvenating dash healing is also reduced. Bogur, we'll obviously go to you first on the Lifeweaver boy. How do you feel?
Lifeweaver, I think the changes are good. The platform, it's a bit weird to change it. If you think about it, it's really cool because people can use it over and over again. You can do silly stuff with it and use it kind of like an elevator. But at the same time, it denies all of the cool plays you could do with Lifeweaver. For example, blocking doorways or stairs, or just blocking like even a bastion node, because I sometimes would just like place the platform, extend it up, and then go underneath. So I feel like it gives you a little bit of skill expression maybe, but also takes away a bunch of cool things you can do with it. So I don't know. it's all right. I think you're just gonna get used to it. But I really like everything else they've done. I think Lifeweaver has finally become an actual character, and I think that's a big step up because it took some time until they did it. But I think he's in a really good spot now. It feels good to play him, I think, and I don't think he's too weak. He's neither too strong, so I think he's just right.
Just right. He's the Goldilocks zone. He's not too hot, not too cold. He's just right.
Oh my god! I just realized that's why it's called the Goldilocks zone.
There you go.
Because
Don't
it
ever
all
say
makes
you learn
sense.
nothing on this podcast, listeners.
I actually
Clearly.
just realized why. I just realized it. Damn, because I didn't know the entire the story was called, like, she was called Goldilocks. I found that out from watching Puss in Boots, because we have different names in Bulgaria, right?
What is it in
So,
Bulgarian?
oh, I don't remember anymore, but it's definitely not Goldilocks. I don't fucking know.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. For anyone else confused by the linguistics of this, yes, Goldilocks was that little girl who wandered into the house full of bears and just fucking started ransacking the place, trying their food, like eating their food, sleeping in their beds, and deciding whether they were too warm, too soft, too hot, too cold, whatever the hell it was. And then the third one each time was the correct one. Thus, we call a middle zone, like a
Okay.
correct middle zone, the Goldilocks zone.
Okay, I just googled what it was, and it actually makes sense. They were translated in my head, but it's literally Goldilocks in Bulgarian. Zlotokloska.
I mean, that makes sense because you wouldn't necessarily be like, I'm going to translate it literally into English, and that's what it'll be.
Yeah.
Understandable linguistic moment. Any other thoughts, Emmy or Spilo? Do you guys have any strong feelings about the Lifeweaver changes or Lifeweaver at the moment?
I think there are really good changes. I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if Lifeweaver is ever going to compare to certain other supports just because of the way his kit is. But I think they're really good changes. So hopefully it pushes him in the right direction.
Spilo?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, he's never agreed. He's never going to be Ana, but there's more skill play. There's more options to do different things. He's kind of coming to his own. Again, I think it just proves that you don't have to have every character perfect, but you can take a bad egg and make an omelet out of it. You know.
The thing is, he will never compete to any other support. Like, in the sense that unless they giga buff him, he's broken. He can never compete to a Kiriko or anything because he just doesn't have the kill potential or the poke potential.
I
What?
don't agree with that. I think it's because of the utility, like the way you
agree.
can use things aggressively and be aggressive in certain
Yeah, but
instances with your
that was kind of
abilities.
my point. You know, like, you can, like, Lifeweaver is very defensive support, and so it's like you want to have more offensive characters in your team that allow for more pop-off scenarios or carry potential, or, you don't want to be passive all of the times in professional play. So you want to play Lucius, Kirkos, Laris, even Anas, But Lifeweaver is just really, I think Lifeweaver has his spot in, like, some defense sided maps, first points, and some cool things. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think Juno, Brig are good examples of like lower damage supports that have more offensive options just because they can move around a little easier and enable stuff a little easier.
True.
Makes sense. I mean, one of his abilities requires someone to be fucking up before it is even valid. So
yeah, I still think about your video to this day, SVB, the initial Lifeweaver response, and I still think that that's probably like the most when in doubt, like reliable way to do offensive things. It's just like help people take space, But it's so hard to do.
Yeah, it's one of those tricky ones. Like I still think that somewhere in there's something really awesome in Lifeweaver. It just has not really manifested in Overwatch. Like the ability to manipulate people's positioning is inherently really powerful in a game like Overwatch, but it just hasn't quite panned out. And people don't like it. Like forcibly positioning someone somewhere else is generally they're just gonna run right back down where you pulled them from. So yeah. Mercy. So we saw the base health changes. The developer comment reads, Mercy's Guardian Angel movement enables her to be highly evasive and difficult to engage with for so many heroes. But it's also one of the most fun parts of her ability kit, so we'd like to keep that strength. So we're moving her to 225 HP and increasing the output of her Caduceus Staff beams. So the Caduceus Staff primary fire healing increased from 55 to 60 health per second, and the damage boost increased from 25 to 30%. Are Mercy mains winning? Are they eating? Are they happy? I don't know. But Bogur, you've most recently been a Mercy main. Well, actually, it was quite a while ago, but the video was recent. So, are Mercy mains eaten?
I think it's okay. I don't think Mercy mains feel it too much, in the sense that, like, it like what was it? It was the damage increase for the right click, and
Yeah, so
what was the other
25 to
one?
30%, and the healing
HP.
from 55 to 60.
And I don't know. I feel like it's just I don't think you feel it as a Mercy. I'll be honest, too much. I think it's just like it's there and it's cool, but I don't think it changes anything. I think Mercy players would be a lot more happy if it was like something more active, like the Guardian Angels or Res or Ult stuff. But this is like just numbers, and the numbers are so small. I think you notice it much.
Spilo, is that the case?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's a negative change in my opinion. It is, because think about it. What do Mercy players like? What's the most fun part of Mercy?
Movement.
Movement.
So when you remove
movement.
25 HP and buff damage boost, what are you less motivated to do?
It's movement.
Move.
It's really
Just pocket
simple.
the DPS.
Simple as that, right? Like
Yeah.
I agree with Bogur. It's not just the fact that it's random number tweaks. It's also because it's like it's not leaning into what makes the character fun. It's not the most skillful part of the character. Like I coached some Platinum Mercy yesterday, and it's like we had such a good time on stream, like trying to think about like each engagement, like what would be the optimal like tech to use in this situation, like reverse slingshot or super jump or whatever. And then me, I'm trying to do it in practice range, trying to demonstrate and embarrassing myself. But like, you know. Come on. You're going to take 25 HP and then give her more damage boost, which I don't know.
Do you think
it is what it is?
What people hate most, usually.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, none of you guys are like explicit Mercy mains. Bogur may be getting the closest to it for a while. But I do have a question, which is that do you think Mercy players would be more happy with something a bit more drastic? So let's say that like Guardian Angel's cooldown was like drastically reduced to the point where she's like nearly always moving, but her HP was like 175, 150, like way
Just
lower.
make her into a wasp, like super tiny hitbox, 100 HP, and like no cooldown Guardian Angel. It would be so funny.
Well,
that's the meme, but I'm genuinely like curious. Like, would you think it'd be better
so
for
funny.
everyone if she was just like moved more but had less HP? Because the whole idea was that when she moves a lot, she's hard to kill. But if she had less HP, so that you didn't have to like pump a bunch
The
of
thing
damage
is,
into her.
if she has too little HP, she just dies to everything. Like she doesn't like. How are you gonna dodge like the most random things ever? Like I don't know, maybe, but like you can't. Like having too low HP, it just enables for random spam to just kill you, and you don't like.
I
don't
also
it's gonna
think
be too fun.
I think her movement's okay right now. I think Mercy me. I don't want to speak for them, but I think they're okay with her movement currently. I could be wrong. But I think it's the rest of the kit that everybody else has a problem with is res and damage boost, and I think it's just another one of those flawed design things that they're gonna have to look at. And I think even Mercy mains want something different.
Yeah, I had some interesting discussions with SKST, and I think Neander did a react to my Mercy rework like a year ago, and like the idea of like what could we do instead of damage boost, whether it's like speed or cooldown reduction or damage boost but smaller. I think part of the problem with damage boost is that's just it's just not as useful for some characters as it is for others, right? And I think that like you need to have some sort of a boost that provides something that's more universally appreciated, whether that's like I said, this like you don't ever really damage boost a tank, and part of it's just because Mercy it's a little bit more fragile. But also like imagine if there was a minor speed boost that you could put on your tank, or a cooldown reduction, or like there was a beam decay to where you couldn't sit on the same target for the same period of time. You were actually indirectly forced to kind of move around, and then rewarded for moving around for better utility. And I think like that's, I think from all the Mercy mains I've spoken with, again, I don't want to speak for all of them, but from all the ones I've spoken with, they're much more open to ideas like that. I find the Mercy main community, like, I think this has been said before, but it's like, they're kind of like lampooned, but honestly, Mercy mains have good Mercy takes for the most part. At least the ones I've spoken with. Like, they don't love res that much. They're not a fan of the passive sit behind corner and, you know, like all the memes about like, oh, pocketing my e-boyfriend, like that's not really the Mercy main community. Like nobody likes that stuff. So it's like, I don't know.
Let him cook.
Okay, well,
In
we'll
my
see.
experience.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's always going to be, anytime there's any group of any people, there's going to be some idiots out there who will claim to speak for the group and not necessarily represent the group, right? There'll always be some dumb Mercy mains who are like, oh, well, I love just pocketing someone. And there'll be dumb Reinhardt mains who are like, give me 500 damage shatter or whatever the hell that they want. So that's just the nature of it. People will always speak for a group that they don't actually speak for. So that's just how it be. Moira then, So we obviously have the base HP reduction, but the developer comment reads, Moira can be difficult to take down between the low cooldowns on her Fate and her ability to self-heal with Biotic Orb, so she now has 225 HP and slightly higher damage output to keep an edge to her offensive potential. Secondary fire damage increased from 60 to 65 damage per second. How does that feel? I'm going to go to Emmy first.
I don't really notice it, to be honest. It feels so minuscule. It doesn't, I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't feel like anything. She feels the same.
So, negligible. Spilo?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, you're good. You're good.
We've kind of talked about while you're away, SUV. You were talking about like the 225 HP changes overall. I don't think this is like any revolutionary. Like they're not really trying to I don't think they're trying to like do anything crazy with this. This just feels like more like, hey, I wonder if this is like a legitimate knob that we could start like toying with. Like, well, I wonder if 225 HP like suits these characters better, and if like we can compensate elsewhere. I mean, it's not really a big change. Obviously, Moira's still Moira, but I think it's like a small experiment. I think is what's being run, kind of. Same thing with the Echo. Just like see how it all settles out. Like, are these characters more killable? Are they less killable? Is there more risk? Is there more reward? I don't really. There's not a whole lot to say, but I think it's like part of a larger experiment. I think they're running.
Yeah, and probably in these situations, the devs can probably see more into it than we can. Like as a player, maybe you don't, because it's probably going to affect like 5% of your experiences of like a duel, and maybe you would have died when you would have lived. So I think it's hard for as a player to judge it, but probably the developers can see a tangible shift in, oh, the deaths went up, or they didn't go up, or whatever. Like they can probably see some change on their end and decide accordingly. Bogur, any thoughts on Moira?
Nothing burger. Absolute nothing burger change. I don't know. Now we read like all of these changes, I've just been thinking like half of them are just like nothing. I feel like they're just so meaningless. Like nothing really changes. No, like it is cool, I guess. It's a buff, but I don't know. It feels like collecting items in an action RPG that buff your stats by 2%. It's like, okay, it's better, but like...
You mean Deadlock?
Deadlock. Now, Deadlock items actually have some cool abilities. But
well, the items you buy, but I think Spilo's talking about the little pots you pick up along the...
Yeah. The pots are so useless, bro. Oh my god. Either way.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, genuinely, we'll talk about Deadlock in a second, but I'm like, is it even genuinely worth to run this far to get like 100 souls in this vase over there than like just shoot a guy?
Reload speed up by 1%. I was like, okay,
yeah,
awesome, thank you.
Thanks, I'll really feel that one. I've been dying for this one. Yeah, okay. So do you feel like there should have been more changes at the start of a season? Like, do you think it should have been?
I think changes should stop being like small buffs of HP or nerfs of damage or whatever. Like maybe some of them, but you need more things that actually like make you want to go play the game outside of Juno. Because only one person per team is gonna play Juno. And so 2 players per match maybe if they want to play Juno. So that's the only thing, and everything else is just small stat adjustments. And I just think that's boring. And I think there was more like cool things they did. They did like give Junkrat a third mind. I don't fucking know, just something silly, And I think it would be funny. And if it's broken, they change it. I don't know. Just make more reasons to want to queue up,
Especially for beginning of season patches. Like you could just make whatever in the beginning of the season, and then they have the mid-season patch pretty shortly after. If it wasn't good, they can get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like you need people to come in and want to play your game. But when they read the patch notes and see damage boost increased by 5% and whatever the hell is Mortar's change, it's like I'm not queuing up, bro. I don't care about this. It doesn't give you any hype. Doesn't make you want to go queue up again.
Spilo, do you agree with that critique, or do you maybe see where the devs come from with this?
I mean, I don't really know. Like I assume that like I don't know what like resources they have or like how big the hero design or balance team is, really, to be honest, besides a few guesses. But no, I agree with the sentiment, though, for sure. Like, I think that, like, you are more likely to make mistakes when you're making major changes and major tweaks. But I think that, like, for me, I'm not as concerned about, like, oh, they buffed that HP too much. I'm always more concerned about, like, the spirit of, like, what is the direction of this character, or, like, where do you want to go? And I think you can do those things aggressively. I think you can. So I agree. I agree with the spirit.
Yeah, I mean, again, someone from I guess the outside looking in, watching Overwatch, I can't shake the feeling that we're just a cosmetic game, like for real though. Like not even like in like a Overwatch dead game, blah 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 game, but like every time I see like the new season launch, it's just like a glorified new skins advert. Like,
Oh my god, I agree so much. I'm sorry for cutting you off. It tilts me so much watching the trailers. 90% of the trailers like, oh my god, we got new skins and more new skins. And by the way, we're gonna have a collab for new skins. I'm like, oh my fucking god, bro. I don't care.
Positive feedback loop where it's like that's like the thing that clearly does well even when nothing else does well. So then it's like, hey guys, we should lean more into our strengths.
But here's the thing. Like, I wonder if that just does well on social media though, right? Like, does like because people want to react to those things. Like, if you're an Overwatch player, right? You don't know what a change is gonna do. If they're like, oh, we're gonna make a bunch of changes, you can't really describe that in a trailer, right? You can't be like, we've changed a bunch of things, and you'll see when you get to play it 2 weeks from now. But you see a new skin, you're gonna share that. You know, you're gonna share that shit all over.
I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
I sent feedback to Blizzard a few weeks ago, and I said that the developers should be reading the patch notes, and they should maybe make videos about that. They should get the devs up there with the green screen, the same way where they had the dev update about Juno. I was like, you should have the devs up there talking about the changes, things that they want to do, things that they're excited about, and like actually interact with the community in that way. I don't know how long those things take. I mean, you wouldn't need to do anything crazy or intro. But I do agree, like having some sort of like, hey guys, this is what we're doing. So we're doing this. We're really excited about Juno. These are all the quality of life things. And you're just like having some sort of like, I think that would also reduce a negative, I know it would. It would reduce the negative engagement with some of the patch notes things. Because like, I try to kind of go in, I've noticed a trend. Because I watch a couple of other creators and how they react to patch notes. How they react to the first change in the patch notes dictates how they react to all the patch notes. It snowballs from there. And even in the communities, like you'll have, oh, so-and-so, they think the patch sucks. So-and-so's community thinks the patch is great. And it's just like how it starts and it like shifts the whole perspective. And I think the developers need to take more ownership of the perception of how these patches. And I think that it starts with like, you're the one communicating. Like, how can you hate on, shoot, what was the Juno thing that they did? Did you guys see the dev update with the Juno thing? Like the 10 minutes or whatever? And they're talking about the...
I did not.
It was the most recent one. It's like on the main menu. Anyway. And they were talking about like Juno.
Spilo, I have not opened the game in 3 weeks, bro.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not opened the game.
It was exciting, and it was super cringy because those guys aren't actors, but it was fun. Like everyone was like, it was fun. It was laughing, and you could tell that they're just like, man, it's like, oh man, those people look fun. They seem really excited about this. I'm excited about it too. I think that should reflect in also like the patch and balance stuff too. Maybe I'm asking too much, but I think it would be cool.
So I think all those are really good ideas if they were doing anything with the game. Like, I think that's what I'm trying to tell you, that like when I see a new season, I see like 15 new skins advertised, and then you look at the patch notes and it's like 15 tweaks. It's, again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm, you know, because I'm not playing, because I'm not actively like committed to Overwatch, as it were. I'm coming from a too negative a place. But like I genuinely feel like I feel like we just spend. It feels like it's a glorified advert for skins now. Like it feels like every season is just a reason to sell more skins. And the whole point of a new season is just a new battle pass. It isn't because something has actually changed in the game in the season. Like the announcement of a new season is not really the fundamental indication that like, hey, this like season 12 is gonna be a lot different to season 11. It's just like, we got new skins now, guys. Come buy them.
All right, you're on contract. I'm paying you $5. Save Overwatch. What do you do? How do you save it?
I mean, I already said multiple times. It really depends, though, because I don't know. I don't think my $5 contract will hire any new devs. So I don't know if they're like.
But what devs would you hire? Like, what development do you want to see? Like, I think we talked about like having a vision for the PvE incorporating the PvP, but surely that's not all. Is it like more dramatic, like game changes?
Yeah, I would like more dramatic game changes. I would like I said, I would like to see like 7-10 heroes reworked right now, because there's still loads of problematic heroes that people constantly complain about that we never see touched. I would like to see a whole lot more dedication to the characters and moving forward in the story, even if it's not in the form of PvE missions. I want to see like the real world being, like the in-game world being shaped by what we're being told. So let's say if Juno lands, maybe one map fundamentally changes now, because like rather than crashing in the spawn room of Dorado, it like crashed on the bridge and broke the bridge, and now the bridge has like rubble path leading up. I got it, guys.
It lands on Circuit Royale and the map is obliterated. Yeah. It never comes back.
Sure, that works too. That works too.
That's great.
I mean, there's like a million things you could do, but again, like I think I want to see just fundamental gameplay changes. alongside externally more of the character exploration. Like I would be interested, and I've read like all but the recent comics, so but I don't care about the comics. Like I don't think they move the needle. Like I just want things that move the needle. I think nothing I've seen, and that might be the fundamental impasse between me and what the developers are doing, and why I've drifted from the game, is they don't want to move the needle. They would rather keep the game in a stable place, and that's totally valid, for people to be like, yeah, we're happy. And that's, again, why I feel like it's just a cosmetic selling game, because like that's perfect environment for selling cosmetics. You can never go wrong if you just know that like within 10%, these people will keep playing the game and they'll keep buying the battle pass. And when we chuck out a Kiriko skin, they'll buy the Kiriko skin. For me, as someone who's like, I care about the overall vision of Overwatch, the overall impression of Overwatch, and a vast swathe of people playing it, I'm like, move the needle, guys. Change the game. Make something different. If it's bad, change it again. If it's terrible, try something new. If it's great, keep it. Like, keep large parts of it. So, yeah.
It feels like there's been a lot of it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, you go, because I feel like me and Spilo have dominated the conversation.
I will say 10 seconds. There's a lot of aggression with like the hero design and the balance and so on, but maybe not so as much aggression in like the whole overall like vision of the game, minus like season 9 or whatever, right? But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
I was just gonna say, I think they severely underestimate cinematics, because every time I see a cinematic for any other game, League, I've never played League. Every time I see a cinematic for League, I'm like, maybe I should learn how to play League. Like, that looks really fun. And I just feel like they're underutilizing things that would actually bring people back to the game, or people new to the game, like cinematics. Yeah, I don't know. I just think they're focusing way too hard on money-hungry Kiriko skins.
Bogur, do you have any thoughts?
I want less skins and more patches.
Yeah. I don't. Again, I don't. This is not when I have this criticism. It's not explicitly directed at the dev, like the individual devs on the team, because I don't know what they're working with. Like like that's the thing. I never want to have like such a lack of empathy where I'm like, these guys are idiots and they could do it, but they just won't do it. Right? I don't think it's that they could and won't. I think it's like maybe they just can't. They're not even.
They're being held hostage.
Yes, I suspect that especially with cinematics, they just don't have the team for it, most likely.
Cinematics for sure, and even maybe the bigger balance. But again, I feel like they're given, and I'm sure even the cosmetic artists are worked to the fucking bone, and they obviously farm out a lot of it. A lot of it is independent work. So like maybe even the cosmetics team isn't that big, but the output of the cosmetics department is big, right? Like compare the amount of skins we get to the amount of like actual changes to the heroes we get. It's not like I really don't think they're equivalent. So
You know what's gonna sell more skins if they make an animated show.
True, actually.
Like
True.
Yeah, like the Dota
When you
skins
talk with
and the
Aaron
League
Keller,
skins sell a lot.
Well, you had the developer debate, and you talked with Aaron Keller, and like, what was your vision for the game? And he said it'd be like a really hero-centric PV, the best hero-centric or PV. I forget what the words that he specifically said, but it seemed like there was like at least within that team, like if they're serious about the quality of the game and making things fresh and new, and then even Alec was talking about how they want to try more things, like not putting words in his mouth, but hero bans, map bans, different format changes, 6v6, like, and I think so that stuff is on the horizon in theory, but it just needs to be seen. We need to see it, right?
Yeah, and again, I do believe them when they say they've got big changes, and you can see the excitement in when they when I did speak to Aaron and Alec, that they were really excited about some stuff they were working on. I fear that the pace is too slow, and I fear that especially now, like I've kind of felt that for a while, but I feel that especially now, and we'll talk about Deadlock in a moment, when there's so much more going on in the gaming industry. Like I think like 2 years ago, it was like a relative lull. It was like Apex was whatever, Valorant had been out for a while. And there was like this big sentiment amongst the gaming community, it felt like, where people were like, oh man, I really want like a cool game to pump my time into, and I don't have it. And it felt like that was the time to be like, let's churn some shit out. It just feels like they move so slow that like in a year, maybe we'll get some cool new things. But by that time, then like everything else has not moved along. So then in another year, the other things will move along. we've getting like big title games like Marvel Rivals, Deadlock are not going anywhere. Like they're staying for a while and they're making big changes. And I think like moving slowly, again, maybe their goal, like I said, is to just steady the ship, keep the ship steady, because maybe Microsoft doesn't believe in Overwatch. We kind of have had that impression, haven't we? The way that they've recently treated Overwatch with like not showing them in the showcase, in the Xbox showcase, whatever it was, like no mention of Overwatch, no BlizzCon this year. So maybe Microsoft are like, yeah, guys, we don't need you to move any mountains. Just like churn out some money and keep your jobs, and that's all we'll do for you. So like again, I don't know if they don't like that's not the remit of the game design they've been given, but it just feels like the pace that we move at was we're gonna lose to some of these other games. Like we're gonna lose for sure.
You gotta be quick. You gotta not be quick.
Here,
just in terms of, like, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly what you're saying about going quick and losing pace. Is like, I don't know if Marvel Rivals is really gonna compete against Overwatch, because like it really depends on their launch and everything else. A lot of games launch well and then die out. But let's say it doesn't and everything goes really smoothly. The thing is, like, they can pump out heroes so much faster because they don't need to create them from scratch. They don't need to figure out how they're gonna look like. They don't need to figure out their names. They don't need to figure out like anything really. Even all of these characters, the voice actors are already like predetermined a long time ago. They brought back a lot of like voice actors that voice these characters in different games. So they can just pump out characters so fast and just pick and choose, while Overwatch just needs to sit there and think and like even if they save a few weeks of workload or whatever, it just adds up over time. So I don't know how you compete against this. I don't think Rivals kills Overwatch. I don't think Deadlock kills Overwatch. But I think in this atmosphere, not atmosphere, but like in this gaming meta that we're in, you just need to pump out content so fast to actually compete with people's attention spans. And I feel like Overwatch is just lacking it. And I don't think it's the fault of the devs. I think it's probably a lack of resources. And it kind of sucks, but it's just a dog-eat-dog world,
I think also, I'm sorry, Emiliath, were you going to say something? Oh, sorry.
Nope. No.
Emotion is like such a huge factor that you have to play into. And I think that has to be Overwatch's niche. Because if you spend, like Bogur said, like, I'm not going to lie, like, I don't know anybody that, I'm not going to compare Overwatch to Marvel. I'm not going to do it. But the idea is that, like, basically Overwatch puts a lot of time and effort, like Bogur was saying, into creating these characters and these voice lines and these interactions and these lore. And what are you doing with that time? Like, what is that, just to sell more skins? Like, what's the point of all that work and effort? Like, there has to be, it feels like such a massive investment, and they're not like doing anything with it. It's like having like the Mona Lisa and having it in your garage. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have all this time and all this effort into like these. Like, I don't like Ramatra's hero design. Okay. He's got potential. I don't like Malga's hero design. I don't like Life, but they're all so cool. They're so unique and so different. The characters are insane. Like, Ramatra is an unbelievable. Junker Queen's phenomenal, right? Sojourn, even. I think Sojourn's really underrated. I like her dry wit, and like nobody cares, they're just kind of like put on the shelf, and there's a couple of cool voice lines that you're going to hear about 7,000 times in the spawn rooms. And that's pretty much the extent of it. And I think that that's definitely a horse that we've been beating to death. But I really think that that's where Overwatch's niche is, more so than any other game. And in fact, I think that's where games are trying to match Overwatch. I got the impression from Deadlock that Deadlock wants to have those type of characters, right? Like, they want to have, I don't know if they're going to have any lore or anything with it, but they're going to try to have like these cool, unique, interesting characters with these cool voice line interactions. And it's like Overwatch, I don't think they set the precedent with that by any means, but they certainly put it on a biggest stage. And like, they need to, that is their niche, that is their thing to deliver on. And they should, if we're going to be moving at a slower pace, that's fine. Just make it good. Look at Elden Ring. Like, Elden Ring moves at glacial pace. That's it, right? Like, that's the game is done. That game is horribly balanced. It's not going anywhere. But
yeah, but it's a bit different because it's not like a PvP game. It can be, but it's not the focus.
Right, but I think that's my point, is that like Overwatch only has the PvP game going for them right now, because while the game itself I think is still relatively good, like we should be like weaponizing, for lack of a better term, all the characters that we have. And how do we do that besides just the game itself?
Well, again, the weaponization is the skins, as you said, right? Like that's where the
Right.
end is. That's where it's going.
And it's just the skins.
It's just so
as
boring
we,
though.
And as we said, discussed at the start, like Emiliath was saying this about what she wants from the lore. It's like, again, it just doesn't go anywhere. The cinematics don't lead to anything. They just lead to Juno is out now. Go play. Go buy. It's not that like Juno is out now and Overwatch the world of Earth will never be the same.
People will lose their fucking minds if they make a cinematic with Ramatra in it, and like who are they shipping?
Diva.
Diva, yeah. Imagine they make a fucking cinematic with Ramatra and Diva, and some like they meet each other and they whatever happens, I don't know, they're gonna figure it out. They're good at it. People will lose their minds. It will be a fucking phenomenon because people love characters from Overwatch, and not a single game, I can tell you that 100% can even match like a percentage of the hype Overwatch characters bring. Like to this day, Overwatch characters are so beloved, so memorable, and so awesome, and they do nothing but sell skins and so annoying, and people are being begging them to do more, and they don't because I think they're scared to invest, but they would make so much more money and so much more hype, and people would lose their minds. Like people would get so excited for that.
Yeah.
And as you guys said, like Overwatch did set the benchmark. Like I think a lot of the cinematics of these other games, at least like Apex for sure, Valorant for sure, they're just trying really hard to be Overwatch. The irony of it is that I feel like Overwatch has come full circle because when Overwatch released cinematics, as we've again, I will move on from this soon, but when Overwatch released cinematics, it was to the end of like this in-game story moving along, right? It's like we got to see the XYZ happens in a cinematic, and then we get, let's say, like a uprising mini game in the game, and that ties into something that's happening on the map, and then that ties into a hero release, right? So there was like a cohesive feeling that whatever is happening in the Overwatch ecosystem is for something. Whereas I think one of the big problems that like Apex and Valorant have is that they'll release a cinematic, but it just doesn't, like, it's nothing relevant to the game. Like, you might get a cinematic for a new hero, but it's like, okay, well, that's it. Then just this is promotion for the new hero. Or even if, at most, with something Overwatch have not done, let's say they ship 2 characters in the cinematic, which Apex have done, Valorant have done. They both shipped characters in canonical lore. It still goes nowhere. Like, we're not going to see the characters, like, be a couple somewhere. They're just like, it's just like a, you could call that, like, fan service a little bit, right? Where it's like, here you go, guys, we shipped them. Happy. Whereas, like, now Overwatch is doing something like that. Like, now Overwatch is meeting them in the gutter of just like, yeah, here's a Juno cinematic so that you guys know that Juno is out now. And that's about it. So, yeah, anyways, it's kind of like we said, it's a dead horse, but
I'll be I know we've been beating it, but like genuinely, if anyone from Blizzard listens to this podcast, this is just such a brain dead way to make the game like even like a percentage of how popular it was. Just do something with these fucking characters, for the love of God. They're so cool and nice, and Ramatra is like fuck, like League and Valorant and all of these games, Apex, whatever, release so much content, and all of it is just slop compared to like the characters Overwatch has, and it's just Overwatch does nothing with it. It's just so, I don't know.
Yeah, legit, Ramatra was like the coolest villain that we've had in gaming
so
for a while.
cool.
And has
Sigma.
the coolest VA. His VA
Sigma is
amazing.
so cool as well, and Ramatra
great.
is so cool. It's so fucking insane. They've done nothing with Sigma except that one trailer.
And they did, to be fair to the devs, they did obviously have intentions of Ramatra. The whole PvE was meant to roll out around Ramatra, right? Like, it was, the story was meant to unfold that, like, oh shit, they would launch Ramatra with Overwatch 2, and then he's like taking over these various towns, and like, oh, look at this, like, that would have been very cool. It didn't pan out, but okay, let's say that didn't pan out. Can we get something else though, guys? Like, let's say, okay, your plans for a PvE mission unfolding didn't pan out. Can we get something else? Okay, so any other thoughts on this before we move on? I'll quickly tick off any other things that because to be considerate of your time as well, because I do want to discuss Deadlock for a decent chunk. Any thoughts on, for example, Clash? Any strong feelings on Clash, the new game mode?
I don't like it. I'll be honest. I usually don't mind new game modes. I'm not like one of these guys who are like, oh, I don't like this new game mode because it's new. But like Clash just feels so weird to me half the time. Like, I feel like it's a constant battle. Oh, one thing I really hate about Clash is that the enemy team, a lot of the times, they cap the first point that pops up, second point that pops up, and then third point is just uncappable. We cap it, and we're almost tight, and it doesn't feel like it should be this way because like they've been dominating us, and then that's it, like 1 point, and we can just keep, they cap that one, we cap ours, they cap. It's like then we need 1 or 2 more, and then we just go forward, we cap, and we win the game. But they've been dominating us the entire game, so it doesn't feel good. And sometimes, which might be just bias or like just like my brainworm speaking to me, but like I feel like the team that caps the first point first usually loses the game because it's just so much harder to take space later on and do stuff, and then they can just snowball afterwards. Yeah.
Emmy, you were kind of also in agreement that you didn't really like the game mode.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Bogur. Like usually I don't mind the new game modes. Like I actually like push, and I was fine with all those game modes, but Clash just does not feel good. And I don't know if it's because it's kind of like 2CP with extra steps or what, but it just, every time I play it, I'm like, ugh, God, I can't do this anymore. I think it's the 2CP feeling.
You think it's at that last point where like their spawn is right there, you're just bashing your head against the wall.
And like especially whenever you're the person that's pushing and you get to that point and you're like rolling them, and then they come back from that point because they get a point whenever they defend it, you're like, okay, well that doesn't really feel fair because we kind of had this in the bag, and then they just steamroll you back.
Yeah, I think the point system of it is just fundamentally not fair. Like it just isn't. It doesn't reward equal effort with equal output.
Yeah, but it's also not going to feel fair if the team doesn't get a point for that, for defending that point. So it's like, how do you, like, what do you do? Because like if I defend that point and we successfully cap it, it's not going to feel good if I don't get a point for it, and we're just still fighting for our first point.
Spilo?
I mean, I think it's a great maps with a few exceptions. Like there's some points that are a little bit awkward. I think the game mode needs work. I think the simplest solution would be to expand the number of points that you're supposed to get to win, and then reward capping enemy points with more points. But if you do still get partial credit for capping your own points, because it's absolutely true. I've had several games. I actually just lost a game yesterday where we spent 5 fights in enemy territory, and they had 0 in ours, and we lost. They only had to win 1 neutral fight, and then they won the game mode. Because you do get to that final point, and understandably so, there is a defender's advantage there in the final point, because otherwise the game would be over in 2 minutes, which it is even then sometimes. But it's way too strong, defender's advantage. And so then you have a longer point to tick, which you get partial credit for, which is a great change. But it's really not worth pushing, because then, like Emiliath says, you not only lose that point, but then because you tried, idiot, you now also are fighting uphill on the next point because they have defender's advantage on that point as well. All the maps have defender's advantage, and it just snowballs really quickly. So they need to provide partial credit, but there needs to be an advantageous point reward for capping an enemy territory. Or actually, there needs to be less harsh defender's advantage on the final point on both Hanaoka and Anubis, because the defender's advantage on the final point is just, it's neck breaking, it's agony. So I'm sure they're going to figure it out. I think the maps are beautiful. I think they're really well designed up until that final point. But I just think that the way the points are assigned is something that they're going to have to keep tweaking.
Yeah, the maps are gorgeous, and a lot of the fights feel fun. But again, let's.
Oh my god, the Anubis map is so pretty inside. Like when you look at the bot, like the AI, it is insane.
Yeah.
And it's painful to look at because it's so fucking cool that we get to
Oh
see
my God,
Anubis,
right?
but we know it's
So-
not going to go anywhere.
Oh. Yeah, even if the maps like themselves like had little things that progress the story in some way, either way, it's something. Give us a drop.
Okay, so is there anything else you guys want to flag up on the Overwatch sphere before we do talk about Deadlock? Just because, this is like the first chance, I think, since the game has been public that we've done any podcasts on it. And I think, Emmy, have you played it as well?
No, I've watched some gameplay though.
Okay, so
I've researched.
You can tell us what you think looking at it. And I think other two have played as have I. So any other thoughts on Overwatch? Anything else you guys want to flag up before we talk about Deadlock? Okay.
If we're gonna make skins, give Baptiste skins.
Give
Sugar needs
Venture a
another
skin, I
mythic.
guess.
True.
I think I agree. Another Kiryu mythic, please. I've been starving.
I think
Please.
I think not enough skins for Kiriko is definitely the most valid complaint that anyone could make. Maybe they'll just move to Juno skins now, and that'll be like their way of dodging the Kiriko accusation. Let's make a shit ton of Juno skins.
They
You
would
know
do
that's
it.
what's gonna happen.
That is
Sure.
it's gonna happen 100%.
I also, I was thinking this the other day, and I was like, I don't know if I want to say this in the podcast because some bitch ass is gonna get mad about it. I do think there's a little bit of a bias in the sense that like Venture is like non-binary and not conventionally attractive in the way that Juno and Kiriko are, and it's like that classic bias of
All right,
like
I'm gonna say it, dude. Somebody went in the character creator and said, stuck the inflatable needle in Juno's rump and pumped that sucker up to sell more skins. That is, and designed the character around that. I'm just saying, where are all the male characters with skins like that? You know
I
what I'm saying?
agree.
Like, I get
agree.
it. Money is money. Money talks. But you're right, SVB. Like it is like it's like the traditional like. I hate to say the word sexualization, but it's like a soft like. It's like it's like Venture's not traditionally attractive, so
It's there
whatever.
100% for sure with Kiri, with Juno, with like all these
with
characters.
Mercy. I haven't
Mercy.
noticed this big booty phenomenon because again I haven't played much Juno, but I think that it may not be
purposeful.
it may
It's
not be a
even-
malicious. By the way, I just want to say they may not be malicious from the devs
No,
because
it's not malicious.
it might be that, for example, internally they run tests and focus groups or whatever, and they're like, who would you buy a skin for, right? Would you buy a skin for this character, this character, this character? And it's possible that just the focus group is like, we would want to buy skins for this character. But there does feel like a clear bias in the sense that like not all heroes are created skins equally. And it definitely feels like they cater a lot towards the like cutesy pretty girl characters than they do like...
I would say something. What happened to the diverse women, except Junker? We got the queen, of course. But what happened to the Zaryas, the Mays? Why do we keep getting cutesy young women? I want May. I want a Junker queen again. I want Zaryas. Give me more diverse women. Give it to me. I don't
One
want
thing
more.
I will say is
yeah.
that Juno probably has the best silhouette of any Overwatch character. Like when I talk about a silhouette, you just like paint them black, basically, like just a shadow. And she has one of the best silhouettes of any Overwatch character. But
Most
I
recognizable.
do agree that it's very catered to like cutesy, and they're also, well, I guess not Mercy, but I was gonna say it's also primarily Asian women, like Diva, Kiriko,
Oh, yeah, it is
and
actually.
Juno,
That's
The
true.
Holy
which is
Trinity.
also very common to sexualize Asian women. So, and I don't think that's purposeful on their part, obviously. But
I think
it's
it's
Well,
just
there's
a
like
thing that people buy.
it's what people want,
Right,
It's like at the end of the day, this is a corporation. They want to sell a product that people want to buy, and people want to buy cute Asian women, And
The waifu thing.
definitely, yeah. So
yeah, and I think it is right to say not. The language here is important because it's not purposeful in that it's not a conscious decision, but it's very much a subconsciously purposeful decision. Like it is, someone is making that decision and they're not being cognizant of what is happening. Like they're not thinking about it hard enough to be like, yeah, guys, you realize what we're doing, right? Do you see what we're doing? Like someone has to, surely someone has said that though. Like I'd like to believe that someone in the dev team was like, guys, we're only releasing like a shit ton of skins for the pretty Asian women, the slender pretty Asian women. We don't do this for like the other, as Bogur said, the more diverse characters. Like it's ignorance to some extent, and I don't blame them for it. But I think at some point, it becomes one of those questions of like ethics versus profits. Like it maybe just makes them so much money.
And we can also be like the counter. Hey guys, we like when you release other skins. Money talks, of course, but like not saying that you're wrong if you like that. Sure, not like everyone that buys a Kiriko skin is like fetishizing the Kiriko skin. But we could also say that like we would love a Junker Queen skin or sorry.
I think it's
it's just the favoritism that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's just a favoritism, and if you like show some love to the other characters like Venture and Queen and Soldier, I guess Queen got some love.
Zarya still has dog shit skins.
Yeah.
Since the beginning.
You would also develop that type of community as well. Like I don't know, like these people would get excited. More of them would play. Like you keep appeasing to the same, I'm sorry, gooner mentality for Asian women or whatever. And more people were like that are going to play the game. So I know, show some love to other characters as well. You know what I mean?
Right. And again, it's like, even if, let's say, Kiriko will be forever the most popular, let's say it will be forever the most popular character. Again, this is where, as developers, you have a responsibility to some extent to be like representation versus profit maxing, right? It's like, we could release another Kiriko skin and make more money, or do we try and spread out some of the skins so that our community overall is more holistically served? And again, I'm not going at them in a very direct way to be like, fuck you guys for doing this, because again, probably the people making decisions are the people not actually involved in making the skins. The people who tell them to make the skins are like, yeah, this makes us more money, so make us these skins next season. And again, it's possible. Go ahead, Annie.
Sorry. I also suspect that like a lot of these skins were pre-made from before layoffs even. I think a ton of them are just ones that they've had because they send out those surveys with all those skin ideas. And we haven't seen any of them. So I suspect they just have like an arsenal of skins and then they choose, which skins go out.
Probably. It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Torbjorn skin somewhere.
We're not ready for that. We can't handle that.
Well, the Torbjorn skins would go crazy.
That's the PvE. It's going to be a rated M game just at some point. We just don't know when.
I mean, there's the real Gooner mentality.
That's the secret PvP game or PvE game.
Maybe that's why I got canceled. Okay, so let's then actually move on and talk about Deadlock. And I think that was a valid thing to bring up. And I think especially as creators, I think it's a bias they should think about. Like I don't explicitly think they need to do anything about it, but I do think that's something they should consider a bit strongly if they haven't already. That like we should serve more of our community. Okay, so Deadlock. I will actually take it to Emmy first, but for those who don't know, Deadlock is the new game that's basically in alpha still. I guess it's like private alpha from Valve, and it is essentially a MOBA third-person shooter. It's probably the best way to describe it, in that it has the systems of a MOBA in the sense that there's lanes. There's 5, I think, lanes. 4 or 5, right, guys? 5 lanes in Deadlock.
4 lanes.
4 lanes. 4 lanes. 2 in the middle have 2 players, and then 2, and then solos on the out. So yeah, 4 lanes, a bunch of heroes, items, but unlike a MOBA, you shoot, and there's also like neutral camps and like a Roshan / Baron basically. But unlike a MOBA game, you have third-person shooter mechanics. So you actually have to shoot, aim, with your gun, and yeah, and obviously the fact that there's like these fun, bubbly characters has made people compare it to Overwatch, when I think in most regards really not like Overwatch. It's very little like Overwatch. It's essentially if you could shoot in a MOBA, right? If you were shooting in a MOBA, that's what it is. But it is something we should discuss, because as a big game that will come out soon in the gaming community, it will have an impact to some extent on Overwatch's playing and how people view Overwatch, and potentially will influence Overwatch as well. So on that note, Emmy, you kind of said you've kind of been looking at gameplay of it. How do you feel about it as someone who maybe hasn't played it, but you're looking at it, you're like, it looks interesting, or it's off-putting, or how do you view it?
It looks really fun to play. Like when I was watching, I was like, oh, I could probably enjoy playing that. But watching it as a viewer and as somebody that is an FPS player and that doesn't really play MOBA games, it's not super fun to watch, because in MOBAs, you're usually killing like the little minion guys for a majority of it. And it's not really like match up against other players, which is what, fast-paced FPS players want to watch usually. So from a viewer aspect, it was kind of boring. And from an FPS viewer aspect, I think for more MOBA players, they probably enjoy watching it. It was confusing because I don't play very many MOBAs. Like the only one I've played really is Pokemon Unite, and that's like baby's first MOBA.
Based.
But yeah, I mean, visually, it's nice to look at more than other MOBAs. I like the third person, and that makes it easier for me to get into the third person and the FPS aspect of it. I shouldn't say FPS, the shooting aspect of it. But yeah, I don't know. From a viewer perspective, it's boring. I wouldn't compare it to Overwatch at all. I don't think it's comparable. But it looks like it has a lot of fun stuff and a lot of in-depth stuff with like the builds and all that. And I saw that in game you can see people that have already made builds. And you can like select one of their builds. And I think that is a really, really nice way to like an entry level way to get people into the game, especially people that have never played MOBAs before. Yeah. But it looks like a fun game to play.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you there's someone who does play a lot of MOBAs. It's still hella fucking confusing at first. Like, you just like, nothing seems to visually make sense, and we can talk about that more in detail, but you're not alone, basically. Like, anyone of any level, I think, at first would be like, what the fuck is happening? But, Spilo, you're also someone who's not played MOBAs, right? And you kind of tried out Deadlock. So what was your impression as someone who also has not really played MOBAs?
So just like initial impressions, really, like I didn't play many hours on it, but I was able to play several games. And I think like I agree with Emmy. It's not gonna really compete with Overwatch as much. It's just a good game in the fact that it's gonna compete with Overwatch, if that makes sense. Like it's irrelevant of genre. Like it's just a good game. It's gonna be a popular game, so it will compete with Overwatch. But really, the only thing that I think Deadlock has over other MOBAs is the third person aspect. Like that you're behind the person. So one of my critiques of League of Legends is like you have all these like cool characters, especially if you just came from watching Arcane. Wow, what a cool thing. Let me play this character. Wait, I don't feel like this character at all. Like you're just kind of like hovering over their heads and there's these tiny little models. It doesn't feel like you're the character. Whereas a Deadlock, it feels closer to Overwatch where like, yeah, maybe the characters aren't as quite as interesting or as diverse or whatever. Like we don't really know. I haven't spent as much time to really say, but you feels like you're playing versus that guy, that big guy with the blue skin and the glasses, or like, where I'm playing as Seven, like I am a Ramatra like kind of assassin character. Man, I feel like, yeah, let's smash some heads, so you start to kind of develop that kind of role playing mindset. It's a lot easier to feel like that in the shooter environment than it is with the raw MOBA, which I think is going to be a big plus for the game. Not to mention the fact that the first-person shooter mechanics definitely are an initial draw. The downside is, like Emmy said, it is a lot of minion farming. It is a MOBA. It is a MOBA first and foremost, which means that there's a lot of PvE. There's a lot of slow building up advantages, making the right choices with the strategies and with the right lanes. Angles and high ground and creativity and playmaking and all that kind of stuff. I look at Overwatch as like improv jazz, where it's like really, really high level, really complicated, but very free flowing in a lot of ways. Doesn't work with MOBA. First time I played Deadlock, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take an angle. Because I've got better mechanics than all these brand new players, right? And I dunk on these guys mechanically once, and I'm like, I'm the greatest. Let's keep pushing my lane. And then all of a sudden, 4 guys just whoom, and I'm like, oh, I'm by myself. They can see me on the mini map. Like what? So it's like there's just a lot of getting used to. And oh wait, I got to stop fighting to go back and buy something and then come back again. It's just like it's very unimmersive for somebody who's been pretty spoiled in the whole team shooter, first person shooter thing. The buy mechanic is unbelievably important. The catch-up mechanics are difficult if you make a couple mistakes earlier on. It can be very visually overwhelming. But it's a MOBA. I mean, if you like a MOBA, you're going to like Deadlock, I think. And I think regardless of whether you've played a MOBA before, you should try it. My one critique of MOBAs, and this is more of like, not of Deadlock, but of MOBAs as a whole, is that I think MOBAs this is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I think MOBAs have a certain extra draw because they very secretly cash in on the mobile gaming experience and nobody calls them out on it. Where part of the enjoyment of the game is the sense of progression over and over and over and over again. Oh, I upgraded. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could buy this. Oh, I could do that. And those are strategic, and that is strategic depth, which is like it's legitimate strategic depth, of course. And the diversity is fun as well. But it's like it almost enhances the experience without actually making the game better. It almost fools you into thinking that the game is more fun than it actually is. That's fun is totally subjective. But there's going to be certain people like me who I can't unsee it. Like I can't unsee the fact that this game just wants me to feel good, like I'm upgrading and buying things without necessarily providing the best combat experience ever. And so like I have a hard time like getting fully immersed in it. So it's still fun. I mean, I can't. And people that find fun with it and find it strategically depth are objectively correct. Good for you. It's just not for me. So I'll continue to try it and maybe play it casually, but it's just not anywhere close to Overwatch. The combat's much slower. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a really valuable take, I think, to get from both you and me about like people who don't play MOBAs. I will disagree that as someone who does, has a lot of experience with MOBAs, at least I say a lot, but a good amount of experience with MOBAs, the items are the game in many ways. So it's not that they are like a superfluous thing added to kind of.
Yeah, I agree. You can't take it away without. If that's what a MOBA is, exactly right. My point being is that sometimes I think there is a certain percentage of people that enjoy MOBAs more, not just because it feels good to upgrade. It feels good to upgrade. There's something psychological.
Sure, but I don't think that's necessarily like a cynical thing of like, well, you're progressing in a game is like universal. Like in a PvE game, you progress and you buy, and like Elden Ring, you get souls and you level up and you upgrade.
Right. I'm saying more when I was giving my initial takes with some of my friends who've been playing the game, I was like, I don't enjoy the buying thing as much. It feels like it slows the game down. And they're like, but that's just part of the game. Like, yeah, but it's like it's like I don't find satisfaction out of upgrading myself and like that being the progression. And that's like, that shouldn't be used as a criticism. If you don't like that, you're not going to like the game. That's just that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think the buying system in the game is actually poor, but I'll get into that in a second. I actually want to get to Bogur first. Bogur, you've had a decent amount of experience with MOBAs.
I have 1,000 hours on Dota. I've played a bunch of League. I've played Heroes of New Earth. Half the people here don't know what that game is.
I remember that game.
Yeah.
So what was your impression of Deadlock?
I played a few games. It was fun. It's like, so I've had this thought recently about Deadlock. It kind of reminds me of Gunzi the Duel. Maybe somebody watching knows what I'm talking about. Because there's so many movement mechanics in this game right now. And they just added wall jumping.
Yes.
And you can go on a rope. And there's like dashing. There's a fucking parry mechanic in this game. They've added so many things. It's insane. So I think the skill expression goes crazy. Plus, I think you have 12 item slots, which is insane. There are split in categories, but it's still ridiculous how many slots
12
you have.
plus 4 flex slots.
No,
you can unlock.
4.
Three,
yeah,
16.
16 actually. 16.
How many ability slots are there? Like there's 3 bonus.
So 4 abilities, and then you can have
like what, 2 or 3 bonus or 4 bonuses?
No, I think 4 bonus abilities, like activatable abilities.
You can have 4 bonus activatable abilities.
That's great.
Yeah.
So absolutely insane from the skill expression side. So I don't know. I'm excited. I feel like I'm gonna hard grind this game because the first, it's a Valve game and Valve has had some misses, but I think this game is gonna be different because I feel like they're putting in a lot of effort. Second of all, it's really fun because like there's a lot of aiming going on and a lot of thinking, but there's also a lot of MOBA mechanics going on and a lot of item buying and strategy and pushing the lanes, and it's just so, I don't know, it's cool, it's interesting. I think it's gonna fit really well for a lot of people that seek a lot of skill expression and just being really, really damn good and just showing off how good you are. And I think there's been a lot of games that just kind of are more catered towards casuals, or a lot of games like League and even Dota 2, which even if you start today, you're going to be so far behind. It's going to be super hard to catch up to people. So this is just a great opportunity to like start from the beginning and start learning the game with everyone else and just become, that giga strong, smart player that just rolls everyone, the new faker and stuff. So I know I like it. It's cool. I like the 4 lanes because it's unique. It is still really rough around some parts. They haven't finished the game at all. So I know what you think. But I trust Valve and I trust their idea about the game. And so far it's really fun and it's really entertaining. I think though it's really messy viewing experience because there's so many things going around. And like if you're a viewer and you click on the stream, unless you have like so many hours in this game, there's no way you can know what every single ability plus every single new ability you unlock plus all 16 items do plus what the fuck is going on because it's 6v6 and it's 4 lanes and it's gonna be an absolute
How many
mess.
purchasable items are there? It's a couple hundred, right?
There's crazy amount of purchasable items. I think
a
they're
lot.
on tiers. I think it's like 4 or 5 tiers of items. I think 4 maybe. I don't remember. And there's like
Yeah, I think
separated categories.
Yeah.
I think it's like 4
there's
tiers.
bots and
When I
there's
get like maybe
abilities.
10, 12 items per tier, and then three
Yeah.
categories. So probably like, I don't even want to do the maths. I'm
And
not
there's
going to do the
what?
maths, but like 100
16
plus.
heroes? 18? 20?
They just they're
I
going to
don't know.
keep adding more. So the
They're
base
gonna
is
keep
there's like
adding more.
there's probably going to be like 20 plus come launch.
I know. I am excited about this game. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to learn. It's gonna be fun to pop off. It's gonna be fun to watch people like spend thousands of hours just to like pull off some crazy combos. There's gonna be so
It's gonna
much
be
tier
ridiculous
crafting.
ceiling.
It is gonna
Ridiculous.
be
Yes.
insane ceiling. That's why
I-
people need to start grinding now.
Yeah, I think obviously, yeah, the grind for the hardcore streamers and stuff begins ASAP because there's a lot. My POV is that yes, I think there's a ridiculous skill ceiling. I think to the point where it's gonna run away from people very fast. I think that's, if I was to like, the top concern I would have for the game's health. I will play some Deadlock after this podcast actually because I'm curious about playing some more. But I think it's gonna run away very fast. As you guys already
I
pointed
agree.
out, there's like loads of heroes. There's crap ton of items. There's all these like movement mechanics that like I barely even started to explore, right? Like crouching gives you unlimited ammo. Like not crouching, sliding gives you like unlimited
Yeah.
ammo. And then there's wall
can
jumping
spam it.
now. And then there's like stamina for your rolls and your jumps. So like it reminds me of like Apex. When Apex came out, everyone's just walking around shooting. And then like 2 years in, people are doing like these ridiculous like wall bounce, flip around in the middle of a fight. They're just pulling gymnastics on you. And I feel like because that's like built into Deadlock, like you're told from the rip, you can do this, that you can crouch and or you can slide and unlimited ammo. Now wall jumping has been added just in today's patch or yesterday's patch. People are gonna start min-maxing that super fast, like in a month before the game is actually, or when the game is like actually released. There'll be people who are already like wall bounce, min-maxing the unlimited ammo. They know they've already figured out the perfect build of items because you can giga lean into like one aspect of it. You can go like super hard on the magic damage called Spirit, or the weapon damage, which is just like your shooting, or your HP and be more tanky. So like people, so that's one concern, that people are gonna run away with the game. Other
I
criticism
think
I have, go ahead.
I
Bob.
was gonna say that like it's kind of like Dota but on steroids. So it's gonna be like so crazy, and I think it might just be too much for new players. I don't see like showing this game to my mom or something. You know what I mean? Like telling people, let's go hop on Deadlock. I've never played it. Okay, I'm gonna teach you, and you just start teaching them all the mechanics. That's what always happens with Dota. Nobody can ever get into it. It's
I
impossible.
think the concern is the floor, right? Like the ceiling can be as high as you want. I mean, Overwatch has a crazy high ceiling, right? But the floor is like the abilities, there's like 2 or 3 abilities tops, and you kind of just shoot stuff, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. Right?
Well,
But with Deadlock, I felt like I'm a pretty patient guy, and I didn't have any major issues, but I'm still learning base mechanics because there's so much on my screen, and that's before I open a shop, right? So and that's you don't have to use all those tools to be an entry level player, but it can be a little bit overwhelming where it's like because there's a plethora of options, it can take a little bit away from the experience. I think my thing with Deadlock is, how is it going to be visually communicated, and how is it going to be like, how is the tutorial or the onboarding process going to be? Because what they have now is cheeks. It's an alpha, so nobody cares, right? But they're going to need to make it like, they're going to really need you to hold your hand if they're going to want new players to try and stick with it.
I
Yeah,
literally felt myself get anxiety whenever I saw them open the shop. I was like, that's way too much for me. Like that will send me into a panic attack.
yes.
All I'm gonna say is there's gonna be a few streamers that are gonna say I'm quitting Overwatch for Deadlock, and they're gonna come back after a week.
Yes, I think that's streamer suicide. Like when people are like, I'm gonna leave XYZ game for this game, they're like streamer suicide on a side note. But yes, I think those are very valid concerns. I think usually the good thing for MOBAs is that the bot games are fairly doable. Like I think bot games in Overwatch are terrible because it's like fighting against the bots is like near pointless. They just all clump on point and stand around. Whereas in the MOBA, as it is, you're spending a lot of time PvEing. So actually just like learning the lane so you can learn your hero and you're just shooting the bots anyways is actually fine. But I think visually the parsing of it is really bad. Like telling what's happening is really bad. Like even someone who's played a good chunk, not a huge amount of hours, but a few hours, I still don't know what half the abilities do, and I still can't tell what half the abilities are doing visually. I think actually Dota does this a lot better. Like, it's overwhelming because it's 500 things, but you can I think, maybe my bias is because I've played a lot of Dota, but you can parse, like, this projectile went out, like, in this very clear direction to hit this thing. Whereas in Deadlock, it's like, not, the third person doesn't help here. The top-down view, that does help in MOBAs, like, be able to parse, like, this is traveling from this person to this person. But when you're third person and things are just flying everywhere at a really fast pace, it's, like, really overwhelming to tell, where did that come from? What is it doing? What's it going to do to me? Like, oh, it's still hurting me? Like, there's still a tick. Not to mention the activatable items. Like, again, I think in Dota, like, the key activatable items are very visually obvious. Like, they have a very clear visual effect, right? So, like, the Black King bar makes you bigger and grow yellow. Blade Mail, which, like, and that makes you immune to magic, right? The Blade Mail, there's a Blade Mail equivalent in Deadlock, which basically reflects a significant portion of the damage done to you back to the people who are doing it. So it's like it's something that you need to know not to shoot. You need to know that this person has used the thing and not to shoot it. At the moment, what I noticed they had was just some guy say it out loud in a voice line, like, they're using the thing. That's not feasible. Like, you need to be able to know in a second when you, like, in Dota, again, big spikes come out from the character and there's a distinct noise that's only when that item activates. Like, this item is activated and spikes have come out. So you know, okay, let's not shoot this guy. And similarly, there's an item called Satanic, which is like when you activate the item, it gives you like 200% lifesteal. So like if you're getting low, you're gonna, like, the minute you hit, you're just going like crazy high. Your HP is coming back immediately. There's another similar item in Deadlock where it's like you have bullet lifesteal and stuff like that. But you need to know, like, I need to be able to, like, there's again a very distinct sound when Satanic triggers. So I think maybe part of this will come with time. Maybe as we all get better, we'll learn to parse these things. So like, oh, that looks like that looks like this. But I couldn't really tell, even as someone who's using these items, like, what was the visual that, like, I have used the item now, so you better be careful.
How does Dota handle snowballing? Because that was a real big downside for me. Not as somebody who knows game, because I'd be like, it's a skill issue. But as a new player, that would really frustrate me.
So in Dota, the way they handle snowballing, and SB has been grinding actually ranked. I was just usually a casual player, just playing whatever. If you kill somebody who's been snowballing you, you get a lot of gold. So you can turn the tides by buying an item, because ultimately it's about items, right? So you get like a lot of gold, which might just buy you, like, just let you finish an item or like get you halfway through an item, which is insane advantage, right? So keep stacking. And also, I think it's the same in Deadlock, but when you die, you lose gold. So in Deadlock, I think you lose souls, because it says because there's so many mechanics there. So if you die with a bunch of gold, you might lose a bunch of gold, which also sets you behind. So I'm sure there's other stuff as well, but
so yeah, there's a couple
so
things.
I could go ahead.
Yeah, so Bogur pointed out, so as Bogur said, basically the higher your level, the more net worth your items have, like the more net worth you've accumulated, and also just if you're on a kill streak, then yeah, when you die, your bounty, like the amount of gold the enemy team gets for killing you is like way higher. So you could be, let's say, like way far behind. You kill them and you get so much more gold that you get like as Bogur said, a big significant item. On top of that, the death timer is another way of doing this. So the higher level you are, the longer you're dead. So if you're like max level, and enemy team is lower than you, you die, you might be dead for so long that they can just push your entire lane in that time that you're dead. And then obviously I would say the final major component is like the way the construction of the map. So like the last area is really difficult to break down because it's on a higher ground and the towers are really strong. So you can turtle in your base for a long time and just kind of wait. And then when you get that big kill, because you have the advantage of like your creeps are there, your towers are there, you might get enough gold back that you can actually turn the tide. Now it's slow, it's not overwhelming. I think Deadlock has a lot of these similar features. Like it's incorporated a lot of these features. The death timer is there, the gold bounty is there.
They actually have a lot of features from Dota, plus the thing with the item guides that Emmy mentioned is from Dota. Yeah. And even the UI is just straight up from Dota. So I think they take a lot of inspiration from Dota and they put it in.
I do think one criticism I have, and Spilo, actually, I'll let you go because I think you had a question, but the shop I don't think is well done. Like I think this is League versus Dota. So in League you have to go back to base to shop, which I think is a terrible mechanic. I think like forcing someone to go all the way, like to stop playing, as maybe this is the Overwatch player in us, but to tell someone to stop playing to go like get stronger, I think it's like really bad. Then you have to run back slowly. In Dota, you have a courier, so the courier can travel items to and from the lane for you. So like it's this little cute thing that has like you can cosmetic it, so you can be like a little like mine's a little llama, and like it's like a little thing that like runs to and back to base, and it has like a small amount of HP that like if you can be killed, so the opponents can like kill it if you're negligent with it, or if they really want to strategically try and look for your courier, they can find it and kill it. That way you can keep laning, and then like you don't have to stop playing, and you can get your items back. I think the Deadlock item system is really bad. Like I think, as you said, Spilo, like having to stop to shop in the shop or run all the way back to the base. I don't want to run all the way back, man. Just let me buy it right now.
I was thinking, how would you implement it with couriers? Because in Dota, you can like, actually maneuver them and do funny stuff. You can control your courier. But I was thinking maybe in Deadlock, you could actually have like a delivery system, like an UPS, because they have the little things on top. You can have items delivered like that, which allows for counterplay from the enemies. Because imagine if they could break the box and then like maybe steal your item or break it. I don't think stealing is too good, but like breaking it or like doing something funky like that would be cool. Or just breaking it so they need to wait for it to respawn so they can use it again. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be a cool system. Because again, in Dota, like you kill the courier, it's dead for like let's say a minute. So you don't lose the item, but you're set back, which is a big blow, right? Let's say you spent a bunch of money on your item and you don't get it for an extra minute and a half. It's like a minute and a half. You're still as weak as you were before, and the enemy team can be stronger. So I like that idea, Bogur. I think like bringing it along the railing, and breaking the box so that okay, your thing is dead for a while, like because it fits in with the lore of the game as well, with this whole like retro, New York vibes that they've got going of like, oh, the delivery service boss, like and it comes through and it gets killed or whatever. So
yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah, my critique with the snowballing was like more. Because I had one game I was playing with my friends, and it's not so much a personal critique, because I can always just blame skill issue. That I'm the luxury of looking at games that way for too long. But I'm really concerned for like newer players, because basically what ended up happening is I take the lane duel. The guy I'm playing versus is a little bit higher ranked than I am, obviously. And I lose a couple of bad bot trades. I don't actually die, but he ends up farming. And I don't actually notice this at the time because the UI is so confusing, right? So he is a lot richer than I am, and I don't know it. Well, I actually killed him. I actually outplay him. I hit it was the sleep dart character. You could sleep him, and then whatever her name is, she got the die old
Paradox, I think.
No, she can disappear as well. She's like the stealth character. Anyway, long story short, I actually outplay him, but because he had farmed so he had farmed so many more things than I had, off of like playing the bot trades better. And also I had forgotten to go back. Long story short, basically then I lose the next duel, and then he pushes a lot more. He continues to farm. And then basically, even though I had outplayed him mechanically, that's the Overwatch brain in me, I don't go back in, and I'm like, I'm not paying attention to the top. I shoot him. He comes after me. I sleep him. He breaks the sleep. I don't know how. He must have had some item that I don't know about, or some ability that I don't know about. I stealth. I run away. I go back in. I shoot him again. He comes after me. I sleep him again. And I'm hitting my abilities. I use my ultimate on him. Doesn't matter. He kills me right through it. And that's kind of like where it's not so much like a skill issue, so much as like I don't know what I did wrong. There's no immediate feedback on the snowballing side of things in the MOBA aspect. And I don't know if there's a solution to that. Like that's specifically for strictly new players. Any player that spends 10, 15 hours, you're going to know what you did wrong. You're going to know what adjustments that you need to make. But I think it's the concern of like what we initially had with like the initial Overwatch experience for a lot of new players, where it feels like too much going on. Same thing here. If I didn't know that, it's a skill issue, and figure it out and think like, I would have been like, this game sucks. I'm literally outplaying this guy and losing everyone. It's an unbalanced game. I'm quitting.
I think Valve's mentality on that is just literally get good. Just deal with it.
Yeah, and it might be.
Well, I mean, Dota is a Valve game. So, like, I think the thing that's different is that, and I have this complaint with League. I think this is a very valid complaint, Spilo. I don't know if I really severely doubt any Deadlock developers will listen to this one. But in League as well, I have this same complaint, is that it's really hard to parse what that person's strength level is by, like, a glance.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like, click on them and see this is what this guy has, right? Dota has that. So in Dota, again, with the UI, when whatever the UI looks like for you, if you just click the opponent, it'll look like them for a second. So you can see like he has these items, this level, these skill, like, this is the thing. And that makes
Yeah.
it easier to tell in the middle, like in the laning phase, which is like in the laning phase, it makes it easy to see
Right.
like, oh, he has an item advantage on me. In League as well, it's like kind of difficult because you can't just look. You get these like tiny icons that you can see when you press tab. Like, oh, he has these items. I don't even know what those items do. So I think that's a problem in Deadlock too, where it's like, it's really hard to gauge what can this guy do to me right now. And I think, again, it will come with time. But for new players, you said, like, can this guy kill me? Can I kill him? I don't really know until it's too late, until like I've kind of committed to
Right.
this duel.
Right.
And
I
I've
think
lost
part of that's
it.
just MOBA. Like if you play the fight mechanically well, but you're incapable because of your strategy leading up to that fight, then that's just, you can't really separate that from the MOBA. But at the same time, that's why I don't think it will be the Overwatch killer. Imagine hitting a sleep, like the way I described it to my wife is like, imagine you're playing Widowmaker and the enemy, because you made a mistake or two in the fight, the enemy Widowmaker now has 500 HP. Like that's basically what you're playing into. Now you should have played better. It's a skill issue, but that's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to become a raid boss, and you're not going to be able to catch up. And you might not even know, like you said. I think the visuals is the big thing. It's like, if you need to know who's the raid boss and who's not, and it's not always easy because
the answer is, and I'll tell you, if you're like, you're gonna go back into Deadlock, the answer is go quietly farm a lane for a while. Like, that's the actual way to catch up. Is like go to a lane where no one is and just hit some bots for like a while, because everyone else is probably trying to look for fights and they're splitting creeps in a lane.
Don't say that for 2 gank you.
No, right. Well, just sit, near your tower and
but they can gank you on the tower as well.
Maybe.
Right?
Well, some of them are beastly fuck. Like the big walker shits are quite a deterrent. But just go to a lane and farm 2 waves of creeps, and you'll probably get enough for an item, and now you're like significantly stronger, basically. So like that's
it's a
the
different
actual
macro. It's a different
yes,
macro.
it's that's the thing exactly. It's like in Overwatch you can always go take the next fight, right? Maybe ults. Yeah. Ults are like a thing that would change that. Like, oh, he had an ult. Like, you're fighting an Echo. Well, she dupes you. She has an extra life now. So tough shit that you didn't track that ult.
I'm gonna be honest completely. Anyone that says the only thing that is similar between Overwatch and Deadlock is aiming, and that like it's not even like the aiming process is just not similar. It's the only like.
Oh, no
what?
headshot. Is there a headshot sound, or am I crazy?
Oh, sound. There's a visual. I don't know about a sound.
Maybe. Okay, that would be nice. But yeah,
that would be cool. I'm sure they're gonna add something like that, but like
probably just unnecessary, to be honest, because I don't think you need to know you were hitting a headshot. You can see the damage number.
Yeah, but it feels good.
I'd rather save that audio energy for like a important audio, like something that actually gonna tell me something.
I think it's important. And those the reptile brain, it needs to be fed.
You gotta make. My rule with all game design is you have to make a smart game. You have to make good gaming intuitive, and I think that the crit noise makes that. But
it feels good, and here, like, but I was saying, like, some people compare it to Overwatch, and it's nothing to do with Overwatch. I'll be honest, like, the mechanics are different, the items are different, the game is different, the maps are different. There's no game modes.
It's complementary to Overwatch because any character that has interesting heroes is like, oh, that's like Overwatch. You guys notice that? Any character that has any interesting character, oh, that's like Overwatch.
I'll also tell you that it's also that there are abilities that are similar from other games. Like you described a character as having a sleep dart, right? Like that's the extent
of
which
the rest of the kit was Reaper.
But there is no way you can make a game with all unique
it isn't.
abilities.
But I'm telling you, that's why people are like, oh, it's like Overwatch, because you can look at a hero and be like, oh, that's like sleep dart, that's like wraith form, that's like teleport. People are dumb. Don't get me wrong.
When I was making my Mercy video, I stumbled upon really old content and like some old release Overwatch stuff, and people were saying, "Oh, Mercy is just a copy of the medic from Team Fortress 2. What the fuck are they Blizzard doing, bro?" So it's funny to see it like repeat itself.
Yes, it will inevitably happen because there's only so many things you can come up with, and especially with MOBAs who have like a bazillion heroes with a bazillion abilities, inevitably one of them will be like that guy. That's the thing that guy does. But yeah, I think that's why. I'm not saying that's justified, because I do think that people who are comparing it to Overwatch are misled. Like let me put it more politely, that they're kind of misdirecting their like ideas there, because it really just doesn't function in any meaningful way as Overwatch. It's just like nobody who actually has played both games would be like, yes, this plays like Overwatch. It actually plays completely the opposite of Overwatch, as you for all those reasons you guys point out. Like, there's progression, there's mechanics, there's like item mechanics, there's laning, there's PvE, there's like take down the towers. So like, yeah, it's not like Overwatch, but it's relevant to discuss in the context of Overwatch because it will affect Overwatch. Like it will, there will be people who leave Overwatch for Deadlock, or there may be people who won't, who'll try it and come back.
There will for sure be people that leave for Deadlock, but like I'll be honest with you, I think 90% of Overwatch players, if they try Deadlock, they're gonna have a brain aneurysm. It's just there's so much shit going on, and like especially because I feel like I think most of the Overwatch community is pretty chill and whatever. Like you have the really sweaty gamers, but like I think they're gonna be gaming Deadlock. They've been playing Overwatch for the last 8 years. They need to learn laning, items, builds. Just like
I
fuck
think-
that. Let's queue up Tracer.
I think the people who only play Overwatch will almost certainly not take the Deadlock. Like the people who are like sitting there on Twitter being like, "Bring back Overwatch 1," are not the people who are going to go to Deadlock. They might go to Marvel Rivals, but they're not going to go to Deadlock because like it doesn't fulfill the same thing. But the people who sometimes play Overwatch and also sometimes play MOBAs and sometimes play
for
Apex
sure.
and sometimes play Valorant,
Yeah,
they may decide like, okay, actually I don't want to play Overwatch anymore. But that's the risk that comes with any big new game releases, right? That's what the most relevant part is, that it's a big new game that's releasing with a trusted developer, like a AAA developer. So that it brings with it the existential threat to Overwatch that like this is another really popular game that might like cannibalize some of the market.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I think mostly the markets don't, they're very different. I think I agree. Some people will, but I don't think it's too much of a threat to the overall Overwatch economy.
Well, especially since I don't really see Overwatch as taking much of the normie market. Like I think that's the big.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think Deadlock is going to take much of the normie market.
No, but it will as launch. But again, whether it will continue that is like the question that it'll have to answer. I agree with you. I don't think it necessarily will. I think it's like an anti-normie. Like everything about it is anti-normie, where it's just like, wow, this is giga overwhelming.
Yeah, but I think there has been a space missing in the community in general for like in the gaming community in general for a game as sweaty as Deadlock. So I think it would be really cool to watch pro players. It would be really cool to watch tournaments. It would be really cool to grind it and stuff. But it's definitely not normie.
Emmy, you kind of obviously I know you can't contribute necessarily without having played the game. But is there any other things you want to flag up about Deadlock or just bring up?
No, I mean, initial thoughts. I think it looks like it will be a really competitive game, and it looks like it'll be fun for like tournaments and stuff like that. But from a viewer perspective, I think it's too confusing to watch and too slow. I actually was surprised by how much of it wasn't as confusing as I thought it was going to be. Like I went in thinking I'm not going to understand anything that's happening, but some of it I was like, okay, I kind of get like they're fighting this guy and they're fighting a minion and blah blah blah. But yeah, I think it's just the main issue is that it's boring to watch as a viewer because it's so much just farming bots. I was watching a YouTube video and like 6 minutes in, there were 2 times that they had an interaction with a real person. So I was like, yeah, I was like, this is not something I could sit here and watch for a while.
Yeah, but like maybe the video was just bad. I'll be honest with you.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
like,
just like game. It was just straight gameplay. It wasn't
yeah,
like.
but like nobody
Yeah,
wants to
I
watch
mean, it
the
was a new
bot.
player, obviously, because it's
Yeah.
a new person playing.
But still, you say that, but that's like 90% of League and Dota streams, and there's like the market, like there's so many viewers for those games, so it's just like plainly just watching really good players play the game and learning. And I don't think there's much in the way of silly maxing, like in Fortnite, but there's more like just watching really good players play the game. And that's really
what
exciting.
I think it's going to be for MOBA players for sure.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Deadlock is just a classical like quintet, versus Overwatch improv jazz. That's all it is. It's just musical taste. It really is. It's like there's so much freedom. You can creativity and individual expression. And then Deadlock.
See, I think that's just a POV though. I think that's your POV. I think again, like what's really valuable though, what you and Emmy are bringing. But this is like the FPS brain that you're bringing, and like the Overwatch brain that you're bringing, where Emmy's like, it's slow. It's slow, but like slow by what metric? Because it's faster than a MOBA. Like actually,
it's so fast.
It's faster than a MOBA. Like, but ironically slower in some regards, faster than us, right? So so what Emmy's talking about, the lane footsie is like slower to build because in a MOBA, like at level 2, you can start killing people. Like you can start the 2 people in one lane can quite easily try and kill the 2 people in their lane. You will see kills happen, but they're not all the time, right? They're not like. You might get a game where like 20-30 minutes in, there's been like sub 10 kills.
Oh, that's very normal, by the way.
Yes, yeah. Whereas especially in pro play, in ranked play, people are fucking turbo feeding all the time. You'll see like 50 deaths. But in Overwatch, I think the fundamental difference in Overwatch, you spawn, you run straight back in to get to another fight, right? Like that's your entire purpose, like straight in to get to another fight. That's not how MOBAs operate, and that's not how Deadlock will operate, where it's like you spawn, you might need to think. Like late game, I think people will just like, okay, go to where the fight is. But especially in the early game, you're thinking like, okay, can we go somewhere else? Can we push an objective? Do I want to take this fight? Do I not want to take this fight? And to your point, Spilo, about it like being expressive, I think it's a question of where you find expression. Because I think that like what you're talking about is like, oh, I love the expression of my individual hero, like going here, going there, doing this and that. But it's like equally expression for some people is like, well, I have 50 item choices and I'm choosing to go to this build. Like this game, I'm going to go with the build that's like this. And this game, I'm going to go with the build like that.
I've got a few people in my chat are like, oh, he's underrating the level of decision-making possible. I'm not underrating the decision-making at all. Decision-making is unbelievable. There's more choice in Deadlock. But the point is that I don't enjoy those choices.
Yes.
Like, it's like, I want to be able to go solo flank and not worry about, oh, do I have the right build? I want to shoot people, and I want to shoot people now. I want to angle and utilize my kit and not worry about the farm lanes and worry about that. I don't worry about, oh, now I've been scouted by their bots. I might get ganked. So I actually need to just, like, that's not bad gameplay. It's just something that it's not what a lot of us played Overwatch. Maybe Amy, you fall in this category as well, because it was different from all the other games that scratched the itch. I never played Search and Destroy in the Call of Duty games because I didn't like staring at the spawn screen. Right?
Yep. Wait, so exact same.
There's just certain aspects of Overwatch that the unique weapons, the instant respawn, the ability, like, and I like that. It's not about there's not enough decisions. It's the type of decisions that I feel limited on. And that's where I just don't enjoy it as much, at least right now.
That's the thing. A lot of people, as you said, got into Overwatch because of how different it was, and that's why a lot of people stayed. And I don't think that's changing with Deadlock. And I think it's still gonna be Overwatch. Still gonna be Overwatch. It's still gonna be Deadlock. And I think it's gonna be. I don't know. I'm happy about it. One thing I'm really excited about Deadlock and Rivals and whatever else is that there's more games I can play outside of grinding Overwatch 8 hours a day. I think that's fun.
Liberation.
Can we have a quick talk about Marvel Rivals?
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
Sorry, just like super fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did any of you guys get the invite, or was I just the most super?
I got into invite. I even did an interview with the devs.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. They did the play test with Captain America and
Yeah, I did that as well. Yeah,
I beat up on some of the crappy game journalists that literally played like AI. I felt bad, but yeah, we did some pogs afterwards, like Necros and Mace, and Captain America was like okay. I don't know what you thought, Bogur, but Captain America was okay.
I really liked the Winter Soldier.
I was going to say the same thing. Winter Soldier is maybe my favorite character.
It is really fun.
Maybe
I was playing against the devs with Winter Soldier at Gamescom, and I think I had 7 or 8 kills in their spawn with my ult because they kept coming out, and I kept killing them over and over again. That was fun. I'll be honest. That's the thing.
Bogur ruining someone else's deck. That was fun. That was fun.
No, listen. I'll be honest. There was only 2 devs on the enemy team, but we played against the full stack of developers of Rivals. Against the full stack of us, mind you, half of the team never played Rivals even, but it was me, Kaiji, we played in the tournament, his wife, Tsuboni, also played a bunch. We played, we got spawn count by the devs. They were ridiculously good. They were just sitting, taking angles, spamming us, comboing abilities, comboing ultimates. They were actually so sweaty. It was actually nice to see, to be honest. It was nice to see.
That's
Either way, I digress.
They're just like in chat, like, get good, kid.
They said nothing. I kept screaming at my teammates jokingly because they didn't even play it all Rivals. I kept joking at them. I was like, what are you guys doing? Heal me. I was typing memes in the chat. They were locked in. They didn't say anything. And they spawn count us. It was funny.
I will say one thing about Marvel Rivals, and this is just continues with the 2 new characters. They are not scared of complicated kits, like at all. They will throw
good.
like, oh, this kit is like 8 different buttons, you know, and they're just going to throw it at you. Like,
they're also a lot less balance heavy.
I think it's a lot more silly. I think the Rivals is a lot more silly than competitive. And I think that's good. I think it's fun. Yeah.
I agree. It's a different style. One thing that I really don't like about Rivals balance is the single target sustain is like, it's so silly.
And that's what I told them as well. I told them you should add some sort of anti or reduce healing or something else.
Dude, all the supports. All right. I don't know if it's just me, but I think all the support heroes are really easy too. Like I think most of the support characters are easier.
Okay, but buff Jeff, because buff was.
They said in the interview they said they're gonna buff Jeff.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
I think all the supports are easy and he'll single target too much, frankly. And I'm a support main in Overwatch, but
Well-
I find the supports in Marvel Rivals to be like, I actually think what's the Guardians of the Galaxy support? She was pretty fun.
Mantis?
Mantis.
Mantis,
She's really
Mantis,
fun.
she doesn't
Mantis-
have much
She's
healing. Her
insanely
healing is
strong.
super low, but she like
Yeah.
has a lot of damage output and she really fast.
When I played Mantis, I was like pleasantly overwhelmed the first few times, which was like a kind of a cool experience. But yeah.
I
I was
also
gonna say
find
Emmy. Yeah,
myself
go ahead.
sorry, I also find myself like leaning less towards playing support in Marvel Rivals. I think because of how much healing there is, and you just sit there
Yeah.
and spam heal bot, and I hate playing like that. And why
Well,
I think
that-
Mantis is
that-
more fun,
That's
probably.
the thing. Most games, that's how you play support. That's why Overwatch is so unique in the sense that that's not how you play support most of the time, especially if you want to climb in Overwatch. And it's a lot more like focused on making plays and even carrying fights and like doing damage and stuff. Like one of the most hated things I have is playing support in League or Dota. It is so fucking
It's mind
boring.
numbing.
It's so boring. You are a fucking item bot in Dota, just buying shit for your team and support items, and in League you just keep pocketing your carry. It's so boring. That's what Overwatch does a lot better, in my opinion.
Who did you enjoy playing in Marvel Rivals, Emmy?
Magic. I was a Magic one trick, and then when Jeff came out, I one
so
trick.
much fun.
She is, and then I one tricked Jeff for a while, but I went back to Magic because Jeff was just so weak.
Magic is amazing. I love
love
Magic.
her.
Might be my top 3, honestly. Magic, Bucky was amazing, and Black Panther's really fun still. But I don't know. Yeah, there's some fun characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry for the segment.
No, I mean it's valid as well. Like, I obviously don't want to. I don't want to go too long on just like games that are not Overwatch for fear of what the comments might be like. You guys, that was an Overwatch
Right.
podcast, and you spent
Ah.
All
2
the games that
hours.
are gonna kill Overwatch.
Bad
Talk
these
about-
guys.
But yeah, I mean it's definitely relevant. I think Marvel Rivals will be more prominent earlier against, like, especially in just if you're from an Overwatch perspective, for sure, it is the real competitor for Overwatch. Like I ironically, that's why I didn't enjoy Marvel Rivals that much, was because I was like, yeah, it kind of feels like Overwatch to me. And I was like, yeah, I think I just personally, I was like, I think I'm kind of over that. I'm like, oh, I don't feel that need in my life anymore of like a fast-paced FPS shooter or whatever, or third person in the case of Marvel Rivals. But I think it will be much more of a factor sooner, especially because December is the official launch.
Yeah,
December
Yeah.
6th.
And I think to discuss holistically, because I didn't actually play much of the last beta with Jeff and stuff, but I think to discuss holistically my thoughts on Marvel Rivals, I think I've seen some very facetious takes from people about like,
yeah.
well, come, it's gonna be awesome, and come December, everyone's gonna like leave.
I
for this
really
game.
liked your tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really
I
funny. I
had to
agree
go
with
to
you.
bat. I had to go to bat with SVB in the replies, and accidentally ended up blaming somebody that I'd worked with previously. I talked to you about that one, but yeah. My favorite part is I found a YouTube video where it was a popular one. I don't remember a few months ago. Marvel Rivals does everything better than Overwatch.
Oh
Literally
my
everything
God.
better. And I was like, dude,
Oh.
you're actually
Oh.
brain rotted. And the reason I tweet about this, the reason why I'm like so upset about this is not just because how dare they Overwatch, because honestly, like, I don't care. You're a moron. Nobody cares about what you think. But because when you have talking heads saying that, people need to be critiquing Marvel Rivals now. Like that game, like even if it's just a silly fun game. Okay, fine, sure. But there's some legitimate fun criticisms we can do to make the game more fun, and like we don't have to aim for perfect balance even. But like all the feedback's getting drowned out because haha, it's better than Overwatch. Hey, like are you sure? Like let's think about this. Do you like all the Healbot supports? Is this like, I don't know. There's no room for legitimate criticism in Marvel Rivals right now, and I think that's really stupid. I've found so few actual good Marvel Rival videos that actually offer criticisms. 90% of them total drivel, total garbage.
Because it's a new game, people are excited they play it, but like give it 2 weeks or a month in, these same people are gonna start bitching. They're gonna be bitching so hard about
Just
the
like
game.
your
Like,
tweet.
yes, exactly. Just like my tweet. They're gonna instantly be bitching. Not my tweet, SVB's tweet. I think that's what you mentioned. Yeah. But like,
and for context for audio listeners, I tweeted that like I said, I was like, as someone who doesn't play Overwatch anymore, like the people who spend all day doing nothing but complaining about Overwatch will probably go to Marvel Rivals and also do nothing but complain about Marvel Rivals. To which like
it's
some
gonna be
people
crazy.
To which some people were like, "Oh well, wait till you see me in December." And it's like, yeah, bro, the first month of a new game, notoriously when people are most sick of it, notoriously when people are most like over it, like I get it'll have its heyday, December, January. Who knows how long that heyday lasts? But it will have its moment. But I think those who have any vague amount of historical perspective will remember the Valorant era. And I will remind for those who weren't there or didn't see it. When Valorant launched as well, there was a vast swathe of Overwatch creators and pro players writing twit-longers, and Bogur referred to this earlier with Deadlock as well, writing twit-longers of how they I always fucking hated Overwatch and I'll never come back, and thank fuck I found a game like Valorant. And literally, I kid you not, a month later, those people were back.
Because they
Overwatch.
went in, they realized they're shit at attack FPS, they're shit at learning new games, and they don't want to spend time, so let's go back to the new old, not the new old, but the old stuff we already knew.
You were a pro player at that time, right, Bogur? Do you remember what scrims were like back in those days? Yeah. People would skip scrims or nobody played ranked back in those days. No Overwatch League players. They were just straight up grinding Valorant.
Because it's a new game. But they played it, grinded, and realized their shit. Some people popped off. Boostio, I think. He's huge in Valorant.
There are some Overwatch players who are legit pro Valorant players now, but there was a huge migration of the community, or proposed migration of the community, who were we're gonna leave, and then like I said, a month later they were back. And I'm not saying that not everyone who says they are gonna play Marvel Rivals forever are not gonna play Marvel Rivals forever, but I do think that we should have some vague level of humility and perspective that Marvel Rivals will launch and it will have the same exact frustrations, or not, if not exact same frustrations, the same types of frustrations that Overwatch had of wow, the developers aren't balancing the things that I thought they would. Wow, there's a lot of visual clutter. Wow, maybe this open queue shit doesn't work. And I say that as someone who's a fan of exploring open queue. Maybe it'll be fuck's sake, nobody ever wants to play tank. Fuck's sake, nobody picks the right comp. I remember getting flamed in the fucking alpha, bro, for picking Black Panther.
Yep,
people were you're picking Black Panther, you're throwing. And I'm shut the fuck up, it's the alpha. And the game isn't even out.
Everybody hated having Magic on their team.
Yeah.
One last thing. Shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, my favorite part is the narrative that I see everywhere on Marvel Rivals that Overwatch is ruined by pro players.
Oh my god, so
seriously, all about just let it be, it's fun, and we shouldn't have the balanced philosophy of Overwatch. And it's dude, you were actually denser than concrete. That you don't remember anything about what happened in Overwatch 1 about what happened, but. Yeah, it's funny. It's we'll see if the developers are gonna make the same mistakes. There's a huge opportunity to learn from that. We'll see.
I don't know. I spoke with them, and they seemed really chill and open for feedback, and they actually implemented. And actually, one of them DM'd me once I came back to actually give them more, tips and whatever critiques.
Nice.
But what matters is whether or not they implement it.
Yep.
Right. Because Overwatch has had the same thing. The devs are very communicative in Overwatch, but then they make decisions that make still people mad. So, what the developers say and what they do are sometimes different things, and sometimes for innocent reasons. Sometimes they can't help shit being bad in their game. But I look forward to Marvel Rivals releasing. I think it'll be good for the gaming community and gaming overall.
It'll be great because some people are gonna move away from Overwatch. Okay, I'll be honest. I do doomer tweets sometimes as well, but half jokingly. But I feel like a lot of people that just hate Overwatch can finally, go play something else and just let Overwatch, exist without having 90% of the
YouTube revenue.
I think YouTube revenue, yeah. But I'm sure that these people are gonna go back to Overwatch anyways. I think they're cursed forever to sit and grind Overwatch. They will try new games, but they wouldn't need to go back.
Once your personality is that I just bitch about this game forever. You know what happens when a new game comes out? It's
you can bitch for the other game.
I bitch, but here's the thing: if you bitch about a new game, people are not going to be with you. This I can tell you right now what's going to happen. If you bitch about a new game, people are going to be like, "What do you mean? It's fun, it's fresh. Shut the fuck up. You're just being negative." So bitching about a new game isn't going to work. Being positive isn't going to work because people are like, "You like this shit? Shut the fuck up, man. I want to hear you tear shit down." Because guess who loves sitting all day complaining about shit? Fucking haters, bro. Fucking miserable people who don't know joy in their life. Of course that's why they sit and they shit on stuff all day, because they don't want to appreciate the goodness, or if they cared about finding happiness, they would go play something they enjoy playing. So shitting on the new thing won't work. Praising the new thing won't work. Leaves you with one or two options. Just fucking quit, or come back and just hate on the thing you used to hate on, or wait till the new thing gets tired and old and then hate on the new thing. It's the cycle as old as time. So I agree. Even as someone who doesn't play Overwatch, I'm like, dude, I'm so fucking tired of people just complaining about this game. Play a fucking different game.
But
Like,
that's
I
the
swear to
thing.
God.
People keep saying there's no different game, and Marvel Rivals comes out, and let's see if it changes now. Maybe something different happens. Maybe they were right. You got Rivals now. Maybe they're gonna be happy. Maybe it's the good ending. Probably not.
Maybe. I pray for them that they find happiness in Marvel Rivals, that she's the girlfriend that they always needed. But we'll see. Any other thoughts on Rivals that you guys wanted to flag up? Emmy, did you have any more thoughts on your, Marvel Rival adventures?
No, I just love Magic a lot, and I don't think any character is ever gonna compare to her. I just love her.
Magic is so amazing, dude.
She's just she has an amazing kit. I mean, her character is amazing. X-Men is cool. Anyway.
Well, hopefully you get to enjoy Magic plenty. Any thoughts on Spilo, Bogur, and Marvel Rivals before we move to concluding thoughts?
No.
Okay. In that case, this is an interesting one for me to think about concluding thoughts, because we've spent so much of this, especially last hour or so, talking about games that are not Overwatch. So I think I'll phrase my concluding question in this way: what do you want to see from Overwatch, and what are you looking forward to outside of Overwatch? Like, what do you want to see if you're like someone who's like, I think Spilo and Emmy, you sound like you're more like on the Marvel Rivals train, where you're like, I think I'm more interested in trying Marvel Rivals. So like, what do you want to see in that direction? And then maybe Bogur and I, who are more curious about Deadlock. I think Bogur loves Marvel Rivals too, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what are you looking for?
I just like games, bro. I just like games.
Gaming, bro.
I just miss gaming.
I know, you're just stuck in Overwatch jail for 8 hours a day. But yeah, anyways, you can tell me what you're looking forward to in your POV. So yeah, first Overwatch, and then outside Overwatch, we'll go to Spilo first.
I think we've had this concluding thought a lot, like, I don't know, just a better vision for utilizing the tools that they have, playing to their strengths, mix things up, try things. I would love hero reworks. I mean, that's more my niche, but I would love to just go crazy with the hero reworks and see what they do to try and fix some problems. That's pretty much all I have, really. Nothing that we haven't already said. And then from Marvel Rivals, I just think Marvel Rivals, I would love to see them keep trying aggressive new things and try to at least learn from some of the mistakes from Overwatch. I'm a little bit of a cynic with Marvel Rivals, where I'm like, if it fails, we win. If it wins, we win. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever it tries, like, we can learn from that as an Overwatch community. And so I love the game. I do and really enjoy Marvel Rivals, but it's like it's the second favorite, so let it do its thing, let it cook, try stuff. Hopefully we learn from it.
Nice. I'll take it to Emmy next, since you're probably also going to bring a Rivals perspective. So Emmy, Overwatch, and then Rivals.
Sorry if you hear thunder. It just started storming.
Oh shit.
I think with Overwatch, I just want to see them have some sort of clear direction, especially when it comes to heroes and lore and that stuff. I just want them to build their universe some more, because I think that's why a lot of people fell in love with the game and the characters, and I think it'll continue to bring people to the game and people back to the game if they leave. And then obviously bigger balance patches. I agree with that. With Marvel Rivals, I think they need, I mean, it was still an alpha when I played, but they definitely need more audio and visual cues for people to be able to like understand what's going on, both as a viewer and as a player. And I think that's a really, really big thing that they need to fix. But other than that, I think it's fine, even if it's not like a balanced game. I think it's fine as just like a fun, like goof off game. I don't think it has to be competitive, but I do think that they will need some sort of balancing, because that just contributes to the fun of the game. Like, it's not going to feel good to get outplayed by a stupid ability that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I don't see it being exactly a direct competitor to Overwatch, just because of the issues that it has currently. But I could see it becoming one, like after they make the changes and do balancing. But yeah, that's all.
I mean, clearly you're advocating that Marvel Rivals fall for the same trap as Overwatch, which Spilo mentioned, which is like, don't listen to the pro players, man. Don't listen to the balance. Don't listen to the casual players, and listen to the casual players. which all those,
Not, yeah, not exactly. But yeah, I don't think it has to be as competitive as what Overwatch is. Because, I mean, and I think that's the issue with Overwatch right now is that they're kind of in this in between trying to balance for competitive and for casual players and entry level players. And I think that's kind of a trap that they got caught in.
Yeah. And I mean, as it is, I was being a little bit facetious. As Spilo has said himself, like, you've kind of done this in your research, Spilo, but like, noob stomping heroes annoy noobs, funnily enough. So, yeah, having like easy free shit is actually not great for the long term of your game. So, Bogur,
Yeah.
Overwatch
Yes.
and beyond.
Overwatch, do more with your characters. I think they can learn about from Rivals. The tournament system in Rivals was insanely good. It was so good, and I think they kind of got inspired from it because I think they said they want to look into something like that during one of the dev talks. I don't remember, or something like that. Maybe I'm not going very crazy. It was either a tournament system or a clan system. Either way, it's like there's a lot of things they can get inspired from, and just pick your, like, I don't know, like just do something more with your big season. You know, you can't just launch a new season and release 30 skins and 5 number changes. You know, just make something more drastic, more fun, more cool. So I don't know. Also, you can learn a little bit from Rivals because Rivals isn't afraid to make like really silly, goofy characters. Just do so many things. They're not afraid to go like overboard with it. And I think it'll be exciting to look. Like, I like Overwatch characters, but I wish we had more silly, goofy stuff. I wish we had a Jeff, right? And if we're talking about Deadlock, I think it's just so different of a game to Overwatch, but I'm excited for it. It's cool. I love skill expression, high skill ceiling, high skill floor. It's gonna take a lot of time to grind to get into it, and even if I feel like even if you spend 1,000 hours in this game, you're still gonna be confused on what's happening. So I'm excited for everything. I'm excited for Rivals. I'm excited for Deadlock. I'm excited for Overwatch. Okay, I'm not excited for Overwatch. I'm excited for Rivals and Deadlock, and because it's just gonna be new games, and they're gonna be shooters, and I can play them and I can grind them, and whenever I'm bored from Overwatch, I can go around and do other stuff. You know, so I don't know. I think the future looks bright. At least as a gamer, maybe not as an Overwatch player, but as a gamer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, slightly depressing, but I think an accurate assessment. Like, I don't, again, I think from my perspective, what would really make me enthusiastic about Overwatch again would be some sort of big shakeup, something that does make me, like, I feel like part of it is, like, I don't really have a reason to play Overwatch anymore. Like, I kind of get Overwatch. Like, I've been there, done that. I'm like, yeah, I can do Overwatch. Like, I don't feel the need to grind to be champion. Doesn't really, like, I don't need to prove anything to myself. I don't particularly enjoy grinding the game mindlessly. Like, I'd love some reason to, like, okay, I want to rededicate myself to watch. Like, okay, what can I, like, this hero plays completely differently now, or like there's a whole new system that, like, again, like pickable passes. Like, just to give an example, like if there were pickable passes for every hero, I'd be curious to be like, okay, shit, I want to theory craft a little bit, experiment a little bit. So yeah, and that's totally valid if the devs are like, no, that's not really our priority. We don't really want to do any big shakeups. It's not really what we're looking to do. Fair enough. But that would be my personal desire. And then Marvel Rivals, I think I kind of get Marvel Rivals again. So as I said, like for me, I'm not super interested in it. Maybe I'll try it when it comes out, but I think I kind of get the flavor. And for me, it's like a lot of the same issues that Overwatch brings, Marvel Rivals brings, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of over that. But I am as someone who is more interested in the MOBA side of things, I am curious about Deadlock. I am interested in grinding it. I think the best thing they can do is make their game easier to parse. Like, again, I think like just tone it down a little bit, make some of these mechanics a little bit easier. Like I said, the buying, the what is happening where, like what items are doing what. Again, maybe with time, these will become more apparent to me and every other person. But I do think it will be a problem for new players. And if you are listening and you're like, do I want to try Deadlock? I think Overwatch is like I think Overwatch is on the absolute extreme end of like constant shit happening. Like I don't know many other games where it's like, even the like spawn time, like 10 seconds, not that long.
Quake.
Yeah, maybe some like deathmatchy type game where you're like just shooting all the time. But like outside of like in a objective based environment, like Overwatch is like always stuff is happening. Whereas other games are on like a slower scale. I think that's why people got put off Valorant when the whole like I'm gonna leave for Valorant. People were like, man, I spend way too long staring at a corner, and then when I miss my shot, I'm dead for another minute on top of that. And I think, MOBAs have this element too, where you could be dead for so long and shooting bots for so long. So I think if you're someone who craves fast-paced action, you probably will be disappointed by Deadlock. Or if you're someone who's like only an Overwatch player, you probably will not be enjoying Deadlock. But if you're a more casual, like, you're not so wedded to Overwatch, like, I like other games too, then I think the future is bright. As Bogur said, there's Deadlock, there's Marvel Rivals, and there'll probably be plenty of other games.
There's one more, Fragpunk. I played at Gamescom. It was so fucking fun.
Oh yeah?
It was a tactical shooter with cards where you like the beginning, instead of buying weapons, you buy cards, and the cards change the game fundamentally, and so silly goofy. And it's like a tank shooter, but it's not like where you have recoil and like no, you have recoil, but like if you move, you can still aim fine. So it's a lot faster paced. And every round you can swap heroes. Either way, it was really silly, goofy. It wasn't too serious. It was really fun. That game also is I'm excited about.
It does sound fun. I like card games, so
It is really fun.
Which reminds me of a super, like, to finish off, I've been transported back to a super embarrassing moment in Emiliath's stream where I hopped in her stream and she was like, "I love Magic," and I was like, "I also love Magic the Gathering," and she was like, "What do you like about Magic or something like that?" And I was like, "I love playing this kind of deck," and she was just like, "I'm just playing Magic, bro. I'm playing fucking this character," because I didn't even. It's like early on in
I mean, I
Marvel
like
Rivals.
Magic too.
It's like early on in Marvel Rivals, and I didn't know who Magic was. So I was like, "Oh my god!" But on that note, thank you to Emiliath, to Spilo, and Bogur for joining me and giving me so much of their time. Please do show them some love. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we let you get going?
Nah, I'm chilling.
Cool shirt, Emiliath. I love it.
Cool background, Spilo. Love it.
Thanks, man.
Nice. Well, thank you guys very much. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
Esme.
care.
Bye.